lies take flight. Disco Up Girl is ready to fight. Debunking myths, she aims for the truth, fighting back against toxic sleuths. Candace whispers, but we shout louder, shining light on hate's true powder. Disco Up Girl tearing down the walls, exposing the truth as history calls. Resisting the narrative they spin with ease. Together we'll roar, bringing them to their knees. Supremacists hiding in the mist, with facts in hand they can't persist. We rise up strong, united we stand, bringing justice with a steady hand. Their power crumbles under scrutiny. We reclaim our strength, it's our immunity. Disco Up Girl tearing down the walls, exposing the truth as history calls. Resisting the narrative they spin with ease. Together we'll roar, bringing them to their knees. Give every word the fight will face. Disco Up Girl, the voice of peace. Disco Up Girl tearing down the walls, exposing the truth as history calls. Resisting the narrative they spin with ease. Together we'll roar, bringing them to their knees. Bringing scrutinies. Together we'll roar, bringing them to their knees. Whenever we'll roar, the fight won't cease. Disco Up Girl, the voice of peace.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Gish Gallop Girl. That was the two-step version of the theme as I work through the AI songwriting service that I paid for. At any rate, I am your main researcher, host guy, Thomas Anderson, and with me is...
Matthew Anderson.
And here we are today with... we are recording this later than usual, so excuse us if we, go a little loopy or anything. Life happens and you have to record when you can record. So at any rate, I want to thank a new sponsor today before we start, Carlos Murphy. He's supporting us at our Patreon, and we appreciate the contribution as it will help us keep this train moving. Before we really get into Blackout and our breakdown of Candace episodes, I want to mention that we've started a new release format here at Gish Gallop Girl, which you may have noticed. The idea is to bump up the single data point of our downloads/streams to the effect that we'll get the offer to advertise on this show. Because, as I said when we started, running ads was not something that we ever wanted to do, but times being what they are, we are forced to adapt in order to not only keep this show afloat, but also maybe allow me to feel some positive effect in doing what has been a mostly unpaid research job. I want to thank our patrons that are paying on Patreon, and let you know that you will continue to get access to episodes the nights they are recorded, which is typically either Wednesday or Thursday evening, or early in the morning of those days every week. Everyone else will get them split up into 5 sections across Monday through Friday of the following week, with a compilation episode on Saturdays. This will all be commercial free for a while, but when we have the opportunity to slot ads in, we will do so, and we may make them retroactive. That remains to be seen. Anyway, enough house cleaning, on with the show. So now we're getting a little deeper back into the Candace Owens book, Blackout, and we're on part 2 of chapter 6, which, to remind everyone, is called On Education. She starts this portion off with a section titled, The Negative Results of Affirmative Action. Candace makes the argument that affirmative action harms the communities it was designed to help. She quotes the work of Black economist Thomas Sowell, who she has admitted to be a fan of, and when I went to look up the source of this claim in the notes section at the back of the book, she has a Thomas Sowell book listed with the page numbers, which was nice of her. The book is titled Intellectuals and Race, and it was published in 2013. I just got it last night on the Libby app.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wasn't about to pay the price on Google for it. I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to buy every fucking book. I bought Chaos because I felt like I was waiting too long. Like I was like in the 40s on the hold list forever. And like the local system only had 2 electronic copies. Like I don't know if there were any physical copies, but I was in no mood to find out.
It's kind of weird that a library only has like I don't know. Maybe it's just the burn and the grab and rip off the CD mindset. But like, if you own one copy, I feel like you should be able to just like copy paste everything and just make multiple books and send those out.
Well, it has more to do with and Intellectuals and Race. You can actually find it on Internet Archive. Somebody uploaded it.
Did you say
Intellectuals and Race? Yes.
Race. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, you can find that on Internet Archive, and I did find it. But yeah, it is on there. The full ebook is on there, available for anybody who wants to get it. And I kind of explained that a little later. But yeah, no, I think it has more to do with copyright.
Okay.
Like they only purchase so many digital editions, or they only get them, or whatever. So they always have them. For things like the Libby app, for people to get if they can't get to a library or what have you. But, yeah, it's still like, But, yeah, anyway. So, I will include a link in the episode description where I found it on the Internet Archive. With a word of warning, the person that uploaded it goes by the name Fashbird. Like, fascist bird. They go by the name Fashbird, with a bunch of fucking numbers behind it. So make of that what you will. Anyway, Candace only has one other notation for this entire chapter, and it's for the next section that we will cover next week. She spends the majority of this section talking about her opinion of why affirmative action should be abolished, but presents no facts to back up her assertions. Because the fact is, affirmative action programs have helped give minority students a crucial leg up when it comes to schooling. Those students, almost in spite of Thomas Sowell's dim view of them, have often gone on to do great things, such as May Carroll Jemison was an engineer, physician, and former NASA astronaut. Jemison became the first African-American woman to travel in space in 1992, and she had a crucial role in medical operations in the Peace Corps in Liberia and Sierra Leone. She has had a hell of a career that I can't do justice in the time or focus of this show. There are many others, and it really messes with me sometimes that people don't know about how accomplished a lot of these people are, or how crucial they have been to the basic blocks of our society. It's fucked up. Mostly because even some of their heroes, like Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, have benefited from affirmative action programs, and by them I'm referring to conservatives. Justice Clarence Thomas benefited from affirmative action programs. He himself is also one of the biggest critics of it, which is classic boomer behavior. Dance through the fucking door and then slam it behind him so no one else can get through. Candace ends the section with a classic white guy trope about black citizens. Basically, that black Americans have excelled in the field of music and sports, both of which are hard work, and those don't have affirmative action quotas. Which points right back to, not everyone is cut out for professional sports or singing or dancing or, instrumentation. A person shouldn't have to do those things to have a better life if their aptitude is entirely different. It's a dumb waste of print space yet again, and I lament that trees were cut down to print the pages of that her ink was placed onto for this crap. Next week we go through the next section titled The Public School Trap. Yeah. Yeah, which, I had read Blackout like 2 years ago when I first got the book. I had read it and I was like, boy, this is crap and I don't really ever want to have to read this again. And now I'm having to read it again and I'm like, oh man, I think I know what's coming up and it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I just the public school trap just doesn't. I don't know what about it just sounds off.
Yeah, I mean it's, and she wrote it or it was published 4 years ago. So if we want to give lead time on writing, the book was probably written like 5 years ago. But
Yeah. That's assuming she actually took a year to write it.
Yeah, I mean, it reads like she speaks, so
Maybe
I can't help but think that she had some input, at least, if it wasn't entirely ghostwritten for her.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of these knuckle fucks do get ghostwriters.
Which isn't as cool as getting your own Spirit of Vengeance.
Yeah, right. They don't even get the cool ghost writer that was on the PBS show from the 90s.
What?
Yeah. Okay, I'll try to explain this. It was a live action show.
Okay.
Came on in PBS like after school. You
Okay.
know, like you're home, there's this crazy ass math show that was really good called Square One, I think.
Okay.
And they had all kinds of like reoccurring sketches on there. It was like if Saturday Night Live had a math focus. And it had decent writing. It really did. I want to give them credit for that. It had decent writing, and the actors from those shows went on to do like other things, of course. But yeah, so you had Square One. You had other things like I think Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego was also like it was a game show. Yeah, like they really tried. They really swung for the fences on a lot of their programming. But yeah, the fucking man, what was I talking about?
Okay. Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, thank you. Yeah, Ghost Rider was this detective show with these high school kids. And there was a ghost that could only communicate through the written word. And he would I assume it was a he. I wasn't deep in the lore of the fucking show.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, Ghost Rider's on, and I don't think I've seen this one.
Okay.
You know. But yeah, it was like they would try to figure out a mystery, and it would like run itself over like a wall of letters, and they would like highlight sometimes, or like it would somehow like the kids would put together the clues that the ghost writer was trying to tell them about, and they experienced the ghost writer as this floating blue dot. They never had an actual like humanish ghost like pointing at things. It was always like, what's it trying to tell us?
I feel like they could have maybe brought a Ouija board into the whole arrangement. It might have made things easier.
Ouija's had a really bad reputation in the 90s.
Fair.
Which is totally undeserved, but yeah. Ouija's would have been like a step too far. Like as it was, Christian groups already didn't like PBS and they already didn't like this show. That would have been a step too far.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
So, we're going to get into the Candace show now. Episode 47, which was titled Support Israel or Else. Usually we play the cold open on her shows, but it was skippable this time. So Candace is back in America this week and back on her bullshit. One of the things we're going to cover on this episode, and something I'll probably have to repeat in the future, is that there is a right way, a wrong way, and a Reich enablement way to cover people like Candace. We can demonstrate what I mean and why it matters to do it the right way this week, but after the cold open, Candace starts her show with...
And where do we begin? All right, so here's the thing. I am so blessed and so grateful that I have my own platform and I get to go directly to you and nothing is funneled out. And we've been on this journey, obviously. The show has been tremendously successful, and that is really because of you guys listening every single day. And you've noticed the show is different because we're just doing a lot more learning, right? We're talking about topics that are, generally speaking, forbidden. We're not sure why they're forbidden, and people are learning. And I think that that's the reason that the media is upset, because I don't have a handler, so to speak. So I want to talk to you guys today. I've given you my book list on locals of what everybody should be reading, but in terms of what's happening right now on social media, it is such a teaching moment. And I want to speak to you guys about really what is pedophile philosophy and what is also pedophile psychology. And I say this because I have read this incredible book. If you were one of the 1.5 million people that have watched the X Space that I did with the Tate brothers and Dan Bilzerian, you'll know that I mentioned this book that's on my list, which every single person must read. Bear with me if you heard this spiel on it. But the book is entitled The Assault on Truth. That is what's happening right now in this world. The Assault on Truth. And it is written by a Jewish man. It's important that he is Jewish. His name is Jeffrey Masson. I believe he's Australian, actually. Like I said, essentially, his backstory is he graduated Harvard and...
Yeah, so I finally looked into this guy more fully because if we've learned anything about Candace, she gets a lot of basic shit wrong, often, and never goes further than skin deep on most topics. In this case, she is right that Masson is of Jewish heritage and that he graduated from Harvard. What she consistently fails to mention time and again is what exactly his PhD is in. Do you want to guess?
What's his last name again?
Masson.
Son?
Take a guess at what his PhD is in. If you're going off his last name, you'll never get it.
Okay. He's a doctor. Right.
He has a doctorate, yeah.
Okay, he has a doctorate.
Uh-huh.
Let me give me a second here.
Uh-huh. Come on.
Engineering.
No.
Fuck.
You get one shot. He attended Harvard twice. He earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1964 and then returned to earn a PhD in Sanskrit and Indian Studies.
I had never guessed that.
I know, right? He earned a PhD in Sanskrit and Indian Studies in 1970. He is an American, and he is not Australian, though he lives in Australia with his wife, who is a pediatrician. I've gone into all of this to say that I looked further into the book he wrote and his professional career since he published it. He is now known more for his critically acclaimed books on animal psychology.
That's,
Yeah. But also, he had no hard and legitimate proof of his take on Freud's previously unpublished work and letters to Wilhelm Fleiss. Fleiss was mentioned back in the Dave Smith discussion when it was said that Fleiss sexually abused his son. We said in that episode that there was no hard evidence of that, but moving on, Fleiss and Freud had a falling out over the course of several years because they disagreed on a lot of fundamental issues of the roots of things such as hysteria. Fleiss argued that biologic cycles could be the cause, and Freud initially rejected that concept because he had seen victims of childhood sexual abuse firsthand. Masson was critical of what he saw as cowardice in Freud because as his career progressed, Freud abandoned childhood sexual trauma as a single explanation for hysteria and followed a path of saying that it could also be the result of suppressed fantasy. The truth is obviously a lot less clear than either of those, given how people are just different all around. Masson's take was not that Freud was covering up for pedophiles, as Candace will and has said many fucking times. His take was that Freud succumbed to professional pressure regarding his sole take on the issue, and he thusly thought of him as being a coward, not a cover-up artist. These are different things. Candace goes on to talk about this in her own bullshit way for the next 2 minutes on this topic, and I'm not going to play it. About the only true thing she says in Masson's own words.
I just want to read you this directly from the book in terms of what happened when he tried to tell the truth, because as I said, it is a lesson in terms of what is happening right now. He said, "The negative response to my paper alerted me to the political overtones of my research. The truth or falsity of my research was not questioned, only the wisdom of having made the material available to the public. When a series of articles in the New York Times in August of 1981 reported on my findings, the resulting wave of protest culminated in a demand for my removal from the archives. I was dismissed, to the evident relief of the analytic community. The reason offered was that I had shown poor judgment in expressing opinions before a non-professional audience." So this guy literally lost his job for having revealed something that he thought people would go, "Oh my gosh, thank goodness you revealed this." And obviously we need to realize that psychoanalysis is really just gaslighting, right?
Yeah, no. The psychoanalytic community is not just there to fucking gaslight people. But also, this guy, Masson, did fuck up when he published without peer review on his findings. The reason there is peer review of this stuff is because chucklefuck people like Candace that have stupid levels of beef with medical professionals will use things like this, things they don't understand, and cite it as something it isn't. It isn't cool to do that in most professional fields, such as when security groups or even independent white hat and gray hat hackers find a security flaw in a product. The accepted thing to do is tell the maker of the product and hope that they patch it. Then, kind of regardless of whether it has been patched or not, given an appropriate amount of time, it can be disclosed to the public without fear of backlash. Masson should not have taken this to the general public the way that he did, as Candace is living proof that talking heads will and have twisted this work and others like it, and will continue to do so to fluff their careers. Candace uses this as a jumping off point too.
And so what's really interesting now, because I've read this book and I'm learning more about the fraud that Sigmund Freud actually was, honestly, in the future I think people will call him Sigmund Fraud, I'm very aware now of these media tactics. I'm very aware when the media, when you say something that is a truth, they just assault you and they don't actually debunk anything that you've said. And this is essentially what has happened to me over the last 48 hours. It's incredible. They're giving me what I refer to as the wacko jacko treatment, right? Because this is their thing. They say to the woman, "You're crazy," you're not actually telling the truth. And so I just want to remind you, by the way, the wacko jacko thing. Here's some headlines of what they did to Michael Jackson when he went up against Sony and he was winning against Sony. They suddenly came out and said, "Wacko, Jacko, Backo. Look at Jacko, sex rate, Jacko on a taco, wacko, Jacko." We all remember this, and we all believed it, of course, because it's hard for us to imagine that the media would tell a lie this strong and this passionately and label somebody crazy simply because they were protecting their reputation or simply trying to reveal a certain truth. But this has been going on since a pedophile, which Sigmund Freud was, created this system of psychoanalysis. So I actually call this now pedopsychology. When people do this as opposed to responding to what you're saying or refuting your claims, when they just go out and start calling you names or calling you crazy, it's just pedophile psychology. Just call it pedopsych. So what actually happened? What was the hornet's nest that I actually kicked? Well, over the weekend, the ADL decided to issue a tweet celebrating a dead pedophile and murderer. That individual's name, and I can show you that tweet, his name was Leo Frank. They tweeted this: "Tomorrow marks 109 years since Leo Frank was lynched by a hate-filled mob in Georgia after being falsely accused and unjustly convicted of murder in a trial marred by anti-Semitism." And they then lie and said that he was finally pardoned in 1986. And they lie only in that it signals to the public that he was not actually a pedophile. He was not actually convicted for pedophilia and murder. The reality is that after 80 years of thuggery, the ADL got some governor in Atlanta to say, okay, well, we'll pardon him. Okay, so they're not saying that he's not guilty, but they're basically saying that he's not alive and he can't appeal the decision. This took 80 years of thuggery, but they refused to say that he was not guilty because the evidence was so overwhelming. And so I was so upset about this because it was a young Catholic girl that was murdered, Mary Fagan. And here is a picture of Mary Fagan. She was 13 years old. The power dynamic there was that Leo Frank was her boss.
So Candace danced around the topic here, but here's what happened. In 1986, which was not 80 years, Leo Frank was pardoned on the basis that he was lynched and could not therefore appeal his case any further. As it was, he was lynched because he had just been spared the death penalty after several appeals. He wasn't pardoned of the crime he had been accused of regarding Mary Fagan. New evidence had come to light over the decades, and suspicion for her death fell on Jim Conley, the janitor that provided testimony against Leo Frank, but whose testimony shifted around quite a bit during the trial. Candace is so desperate to tie the death of a 13-year-old Catholic girl employee to a Jewish boss that it's sickening, but her consistent run at the topic is done to further delegitimize the ADL. That's all it is. Like most cases from the time period, evidence gathering was often sketchy at best, but the case was a jumping-off point for the founding of the ADL because of the heavy anti-Jewish condition of Atlanta at the time. If Leo Frank had been guilty, I don't think they would have hung their hat on his case because they would have preferred a win, especially given the circumstances. Candace goes on to repeat the lie that Leo Frank was wealthy, and she talks about how women testified that he was a creep. The last part might have been true, but there was no evidence that he cheated on his wife or raped anyone. After repeating the lie that the ADL was in league with the Freemasons, they weren't. They never were. We get this.
was, but two of the jury members were actually Jewish. So it's a nonsense. It's just been a propaganda campaign for decades.
Nope. None of the 12 male jurors that convicted Leo Frank were Jewish. Not a single one. Not even close. The grand jury that convicted him that led to the trial even happening had 5 Jewish members, but not the jury of his peers. This is a pretty significant thing to lie about. And she says it with such conviction that her average fan or listener would probably never bother to look it up. And that's one reason we do this show.
To try to effectively Men in Black society, just like, phew, memory erased, and we're going to create the new future. And so I did this live speaking about that and how, we have to be brave in the face of pedophilia. Like, I am a mother, and you should never feel that because of your identity, like, I should never feel that I have to stand up and defend a drug dealer. I don't, a drug addict. I don't, on the basis of the fact that they have the same complexion as me. You know that because think about the firestorm that I went through when I stood up against the George Floyd narrative, and people were going, Candace, that could be you. That could be your children. You're Black. I said, no, I reject that narrative. The things that he did in his past are contemptible, and I am not going to allow this person to become an idol in the future. The same thing should apply to Jewish America. You do not have to defend criminals. You do not have to defend pedophiles. You do not have to defend any person across the world on the basis of somebody trying to basically pigeonhole you into your identity. But then I offered a little more information, and this is really important, speaking further to that. First and foremost is the fact that Israel, as an example, for people that feel this pull to defend this country on the basis of the fact that you're Jewish, Israel right now is a safe haven for pedophiles, okay? I don't care where you stand on any political issue, if you're a Democrat or Republican, we should all be outraged that we are sending our dollars overseas to a country that is protecting pedophiles. So we're talking about men like Leo Frank who rape little girls, know that they can go, if they're Jewish, they can go to Israel and they'll be provided a safe haven. And I'm going to show you 2 articles that are going to substantiate that claim, because people will say, what are you talking? No, it's 1000% true. Here is an article, CBS News, how Jewish American pedophiles hide from justice in Israel. Here's another article, the Jerusalem Post, tens of thousands of pedophiles operate in Israel every year. So what we all should be agreeing on, sensibly, is that that is wrong. We should all be on the same team when it comes to standing up to pedophilia.
Yep, it is wrong. But before we get into that, I think Candace would probably have a fucking heart attack if she drove around Minneapolis for, 30 minutes.
Well, especially around North Side. I mean,
yeah, all of the George Floyd murals and shit that were painted.
God. Oh man, I know a really fun square she could go visit.
Yeah.
Maybe with a bullhorn. See how long the George Floyd thing was.
And see how long that would last. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I had some guy. I overheard him the other day. Said that the George Floyd thing was a hoax.
Oh, Jesus fuck, no.
And I was just sitting there and I was thinking, like, man,
my guy, you're in the city.
You are standing in the wrong area of town to be saying that.
Yeah, there's no area of town where anyone should say that shit, because, like, oh God, yeah, just people are the worst. So I looked into this whole thing that Candace just said about Israel. If Candace actually read the article she talked about, she would know that the tens of thousands doesn't refer to expats that went into Israel. It refers to the number of suspected plus known pedophiles that live among the population of Israel. Those are mostly homegrown. And as for the actual information, Jewish Community Watch, a group that tracks the actual statistics and movements of known pedophiles, or even newly discovered pedophiles that have fled to Israel, says that since 2014, only about 60 have moved to the country. They have all exercised the Israel law or right of return, which allows anyone with Jewish ancestry to go claim citizenship in Israel. The Israeli government has stopped many people from emigrating there and has worked with law enforcement in many countries to halt them from going to Israel. The ones that have gotten in and gotten their citizenship before the truth is known have been harder to remove, as they often fight extradition in the courts, but unless they have a lot of money, they do get sent away almost immediately. Israel is not a haven for pedophiles. I don't like Israel for a lot of reasons that we've gone over before about the Gaza genocide, and I'll remind y'all that I am Jewish by birth, but this is an easily debunked claim. Candace is only using this lie to support her other lies.
Yeah. And so what happened thereafter, I did this live and I then took it a step further by confirming to people that the problem here is that there is a religious cult that is known as Frankism. Okay? You can look this up, look up Jacob Frank and Frankism. They pretend to be Jews. They are not Jews. Okay? They practice incest and pedophilia as a sacramental rite.
No.
I brought to my audience the fact, the indisputable fact, the fact that I learned from Gershom Scholem, an Israeli historian, that Leo Frank, just so you guys know, is a descendant, a direct descendant of Jacob Frank. So,
so from a casual listen, you might think that Candace spoke with this man, Gershom Scholem.
Yeah.
That'd be real fucking hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because he died in 1982.
That almost rhymes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be especially amazing if Candace could provide any such information, because none exists. Scholem never, in his work, ever put the two in the same lineage. I don't know where she got that shit, but it really isn't true in any sense. Also, and I'll probably say this 1,000 times, Mary Fagan was not provably raped by anyone. One of the doctors involved in the investigation said under testimony that her hymen was intact. But anyway, Leo Frank, to top it all off, was not a fucking Frankist. Jesus fuck.
Also, she's still saying Jew with the hard J.
Yeah, constantly. So, anyway.
it is very likely that Leo Frank was not a Jew. Okay, this is not a person who followed the Torah. Leo Frank was very likely a Frankist. It is a fact that Frankists made it to America. You can look up Louis Brandeis, the Supreme Court Justice, who they say, the first Jewish Supreme... No, he was a Frankist. Check it out on his Wikipedia. He kept a picture of Ava Frank, Jacob Frank's daughter, who he committed incest with, who he had sex with, a picture of Ava Frank on his desk. You can research this. So the issue that we have are people who are satanic have infiltrated all of the faiths. I have been talking about this on this podcast. And so after saying this and calling upon people to stand up to pedophiles, to stand up to what I believe is an operation of Frankists and sickos who are using this sort of pedopsychology to get people upset and to gaslight people forgetting when they start to recognize this truth. When I made that call and said, hey guys, we need to stand up to this, I was smeared and I was lied to.
We were all lied to, Candace. We know about being lied to. Yes, we do. Brandeis wasn't a Frankist. And to call the Frankists satanic in any sense is to spit in the eye of Satanists, of whom I have known several over the years. They have ranged from the Anton LaVey types to the more modern types, but none of them, not a single one, would ever try to mess with kids, animals, or incest. They were more moral on average than many Christians I've known, because they knew the reality of being sinful to others wasn't going to be washed away with a prayer or some penance to the church. They would deal with very real consequences for being evil in any sense, and often lived according to a pretty decent set of principles. Most Satanists I've had the pleasure to know are pretty chill folks. Mm-hmm. But back to Frankism, no evidence from objective sources indicates that they practice pedophilia. That and the claim that Candace keeps making about incest being a religious sacrament for them come from dubious Catholic clergy sources and not from any written or recorded material. Given all of this, Candace is lying, which listeners to this show know is normal, but it bears repeating, and Candace goes on.
A group known as Jewish on Campus, who, by the way, I should mention, have ties to Louis Brandeis's Human Rights Center, don't know how you could be a person that is a Frankist who also has a human rights center named after you.
Not a Frankist.
It's shocking to me. They wrote this on Instagram, just straight up told a lie about what I said in that live. They accused me of claiming that Judaism, this week on the Candace Owens Show, it's not even a show anymore, the Candace Owens Show claimed in a wildly anti-Semitic statement that Judaism is a pedophile-centric religion that worships Baphomet, believes in demons and child sacrifice, and is the reason that we have the circumstances that we are in today. I never said this. This is just, this is like just full on make up a lie. And that's why they didn't include the clip. I commented and said, take this down. They did not take it down. So I had to get my lawyer to send them a cease and desist. And then they took it down. But of course, by then the damage is done. People start tagging, they believe this because everyone looks at the internet and they just accept that. Why would anybody lie? Why would anybody lie? Candace must have gone on there and said Judaism is for pedophiles. Of course I didn't say that. Why would I say that? What is the Torah? I am a Christian. Aren't those books in my Bible? But they do this because they know that they can seize people by this fearfulness, and that fearfulness comes from what we are conditioned in school to believe is a threat to our existence. So for Black people, it's slavery. For Jewish people, it's the Holocaust. And so what can happen is that before you know it, you're defending something. You don't even know what it is that you're defending, right? There is nobody watching this show that disagrees, I hope, other than maybe Frankists, that disagrees with the fact that any nation that we are giving money to should not have a right to harbor pedophiles. That is a sensible position to have. It is not only sensible, it is a righteous position to have. So why did they try to smear me for that? And so what then happened, of course, is, and I am very clear on this, like I can give you tons of reasons, but number one, if you defend pedophiles, I cannot support you. I cannot support you. I cannot support anything that you're doing. It'd be very simple for you to let us extradite our pedophiles and to not give them a haven. I can't imagine being a parent to somebody whose child was raped at the age of 7, and you find out that the person who raped your child is in a country that you have to give tax dollars to, and you can't access that person. You know that's wrong. I know that's wrong. It is okay to stand up to pedophilia. So anyways, what happened was, since I exposed that there's a Frankist cult that has infiltrated all of the faiths, and that is a fact, an absolute fact.
Nope.
And because they can't dispute the facts, they just go with, Candace is crazy. I'm not kidding. They started saying that I was having some sort of a mental breakdown, trying to pretend that I said this about Judaism. And you had all sorts of people condemning something that I never said, or frankly, not even saying what I said, because it's easier that way if you're just super dramatic, like Sarah Carter.
Yeah, so that was a lot, but let's first talk about Jewish on Campus. It is an account on Instagram, and the post that Candace was referring to isn't on there anymore. You know, she said they took it down. Okay. They do have one that addresses her directly about her Holocaust denial. And the difference between what hard Holocaust denial is and soft Holocaust denial.
Yeah.
It's a good 3 posts.
Okay.
You know, like it fills a phone screen easily. You can read it without glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they did a really good job saying, hey, Candace, we're glad you know about us. Now let's talk about Holocaust denial. So they addressed an issue.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. They have worked with the Brandeis Human Rights Group, but they aren't tight buddies. There is another series of posts that they have up, which I talked about, calling her soft denial of the Holocaust, which is equating it to other current and historical genocides, as well as saying things like, it wasn't that bad, or accusing people of playing it up to score points and discredit whoever is talking about it. All of that is known as soft Holocaust denial. That one wasn't taken down.
Of course.
They called her out by name in it as well. But moving on, Israel is guilty of several things, but harboring pedophiles that are known pedos or have committed known crimes against children over there doesn't seem to be one of them. I'm saying this because pedophilia doesn't stop in a person just because they move or emigrate. It is a compulsion that I have no compassion for, but it's not something that someone moves away from. and Israel has enough of its own problems to not knowingly take on the known pedos of other countries, and they regularly block immigration from people stupid enough to have a known record trying to claim right of return. Israel is doing bad shit in Gaza. Lying in this way helps no one.
No.
Candace goes on to talk about the woman at the end of the clip and claims not to know her, even though the woman says otherwise in a tweet. But she isn't wrong about what she's actually saying, which, to her credit, Candace reads.
Who is somebody who, I don't know, does some stuff
Sarah
for Fox
Carter.
News. She starts with, I'm not going to use her tweet, my statement on at Real Candace Owens. I've known Candace for some time and admired her work on Blexit and as a valued voice in the conservative movement. Let me stop you right there. I do not know Sarah. Okay. I've met Sarah many moons ago, but just to be clear, I haven't even seen her since before I was married and had children. That's how long ago it's been since I've known Sarah. But she's doing this because she thinks that it's going to weight the statement and because somebody has told her to do this, because what's likely happening right now is that people that do protect pedophiles are going to do that by making people who don't protect pedophiles be outraged by a statement that they don't even disagree with. She then wrote, sadly, something seems to have gone wrong, so that she is now engaging in and spreading the most vile and vicious Jew-hating conspiracy theories, some of them dating back to the depths of ignorance from the Middle Ages. Again.
Yeah, so the full tweet goes on to call out Candace Owens as an anti-Semite. Since the term anti-Semite is easier to say and generally recognized as applicable, I see no reason to not call her an anti-Semite or anti-Judaic crusader. But anti-Semite is easier, so we'll probably go with that from now on, even though Candace herself doesn't agree that the term applies to her. Anyway, Sarah Carter, from what I can tell, is very pro-Israel, and this is another case of human-sized monsters fighting. They are both terrible, and unless something else comes of it in the future, I see no reason to address it further. Candace goes on to read through comments about the post, and it's trash. People call out family stories of Candace, and they fuck up a lot of basics that I know from simple research. And Candace laughs it all off, which is fair. Candace uses it as an opportunity to point out that the legacy media is lying about her, so good job, assholes. Look, I will say this as often... Oh, lost my spot. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Said, yeah, look, I will say this as often as I need to, but we don't need to lie about people like Candace. The truth of what she says and what she says and why she says it all is bad enough. Lying doesn't make it better. This isn't me advocating for the high road, but we don't need to fucking lie. Anyway, Candace spends time talking about Lizzo and how much she appreciates her, even though Lizzo has Candace blocked on Twitter.
Lizzo. Who's Lizzo again?
She's a singer. She was also in Mandalorian Season 3. She was in the episode with Jack Black and Christopher Lloyd, Mando, and the Queen lady.
Yeah.
And Baby Yoda.
Right. Yeah. Where they
all go there to get the mercenaries back, to get the mercenary Mandalorians back. Yeah.
Yeah, and they find the
Lizzo was the queen or whatever of that society.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's also a singer. She's done like...
See, I forgot Jack Black's involvement in that. Like, it completely... clean slated from my memory.
Yeah, no, they were all... It was Jack Black and Lizzo and Christopher Lloyd were all like the heavy hitter guest stars in that one episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and... so Candace goes on to mention her thoughts on the Trump campaign, hiring and refiring people, and saying she knows people in the campaign, and it's all whatever. Then she gets into viewer comments.
Von Martinez writes, roughly 460,000 children go missing each year in America. Can you look into how many have gone missing based on race? How many children and 9 and under are either white, black, Latin, Asian, or Jewish? Yes, we have an issue with children going missing. We have an issue with pedophilia, and no person should feel that they can't talk about that or believe that it's some sort of a conspiracy or that it's a race-based conspiracy. And that actually gives them more power when they can keep us warring with one another. Vado writes, Christus...
No. 460,000 children are reported missing every year on average in America. But an overwhelming number of those reports are canceled. Only about 15,000 kids on average turn out to be really missing, and typically the missing children are with family, like when divorced parents take kids away or keep them out too long on custody. A much smaller number go missing for various reasons, such as kidnapping or, running away or whatever. It isn't good, but 460,000 kids aren't disappearing from America every year. Anyway, Candace rounds out episode 47 with user comments, and there's nothing really worth exploring. So let's move into episode 48, which starts with...
All right, guys. Well, I am very pleased to announce that it's finally over. It's finally dead and over because of Blake Lively, the actress. She has personally come down and ended modern feminism for me. And she did this by just being a modern feminist, also known as just generally being unbearable in today's world. We're going to talk about that. Plus, we have Rabbi Shmuley. Yes, my friend or foe. He's back in the news because he's apparently filed, I'm not kidding, guys, an FBI report against me. So I'm going to go to prison for a very long time. And in other funny news, the DNC happened. Let's talk about that. That's what we have coming up on Candace.
Okay, so regular listeners to this show are probably aware of my stance on covering Candace trying to stir up celebrity drama. I don't usually fuck with it that much, and this will be no exception. Blake Lively, for those unaware, is the wife of Ryan Reynolds, and my only small beef with her is that for someone who famously isn't a drinker, she shouldn't have her name on a line of booze.
I remember you actually...
We saw a poster for it near one of the liquor stores, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I still feel that way. It wasn't that long ago. That said, I don't really consider myself concerned with anything she chooses to do, and I had no idea she had been on the show Gossip Girl.
The fuck?
As I never once watched a single episode.
I didn't even know that was a...
Yeah, it was a show.
Why is that a... Okay.
Well, the existence of it, just that name, may have influenced the name of this show.
Okay.
Yeah. That might have been a thing, like just rolling, like maybe it was in the back of my head. No idea. Anyway, we're not going to muck around with Candace's take on her, which is mostly shitty anyway. Candace's shitty take uses up almost half of the episode.
Really? She spent that much time on...
I am not kidding. It was over 13 minutes long.
That's how long she decided to spend on...
Just on bitching about Blake Lively, yes.
God.
Add to that an ad for Native Path, the collagen powder company she's hawking for, and most of half of the program is gone in one simple cut.
Jesus.
I just sliced it right away, yeah. Moving on, though, Candace gets into a different kind of celebrity beef entirely, and it is the kind that we concern ourselves with here on Gish Gallop Girl.
Right, you guys, let's get into some stories.
5
Let's start
minutes,
with the
I'm
story.
sorry.
Rabbi Shmuley, I don't know what to say about this guy. He is, listen, if you were not following my old show at the Daily Wire, and you're following the new show, I'll bring you up to date. I'll kind of put the two shows together. So Rabbi Shmuley and his hag daughter began a harassment campaign of me that lasted, I'm not kidding, 2 years. It actually hasn't ended. I shouldn't say it lasted 2 years. It began for 2 years after they were kind of wanting me to say something about Kanye West, who was my friend, and I don't believe in publicly throwing your friends under the bus. And he's basically like, you will do this or else. And they were like, we're coming for you. Or we're literally coming for you, and we're going to harass you until you lose your job. So I'm going to show you just a compilation of their clips over the years of the stuff that they said to me.
I'm just going to pause it right here to mention that when they were pushing for her to say whatever about Kanye, Candace and her husband were at the time trying to sell Parler to him.
Okay, wait, they were trying to sell Parler to Shmuley?
To Ye.
To Ye, okay.
Yeah, they were trying to sell Parler to Ye. This was in the same period that he was, that he had gone on Alex Jones and wore like a balaclava or whatever and said that he loved Hitler. And Nick Fuentes was also there.
Okay,
he was also there on camera. In the InfoWars studio. With Ye. Yeah, that was a hell of a time with Knowledge Fight. But anyway, moving on. We're going to continue this clip.
Literally the only reason for this was because I wouldn't throw Kanye West under the bus 2 years ago. So take a listen.
Candace Owens is gripped with a poisonous, almost pathological hatred of Jews. It's actually become very serious. It's actually almost frightening. When you see a woman like Candace Owens blood libeling the Jewish people, by the way, Candace Owens is losing it. Her anti-Semitism goes by the day.
There is something really, truly wrong with Candace Owens. You guys know that I dislike liars and anti-Semites more than anything in the whole entire world. And here, we have a combination of both. Candace Owens simply will not stop defending Kanye West. It's like an obsession. If she's unable to genuinely and authentically condemn what Kanye said, it says a lot about her. If you come for us, we'll come back at you with everything that we have. I have heard from hundreds of you who feel so backstabbed and betrayed and disappointed in Candace Owens and others who defended, who enabled and encouraged Kanye West to continue spreading lies and venom and medieval Jewish hatred. Candace Owens posted a picture of my face and my name and my account to her over 4 million followers yesterday, many of whom are violence-crazed and unhinged.
You really went after Candace Owens today. Why?
That's a sliver of what she actually deserves. She is such a liar. She is an anti-Semite. She hates Jews. She has a thing with
Incredible,
Jews.
isn't it? Like, weird.
And while Jews are being attacked around the world, she finds it really necessary to spend her time, use her platform to defend and protect Kanye West while she talks
A Hitler lover.
crap about
Kanye
Israel.
West is not just an anti-Semite. He's a Hitler lover. That's a different
literally,
level altogether.
literally. She is abominable. I actually am disgusted by her because she hates Israel. We are coming for you, Candace, on the media, on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter.
The more she defends Kanye West, the more we're going to call her out.
Defending Kanye, we will come for you.
Kanye? Hi, everybody. Purim is a day of celebration. We feel bad for Candace Owens that she lost her job. So I figure, with her image of what Jews are supposed to look like, why not at least validate her? I am dressed up as a Candace Owens Jew. Now, this is not a Christian child, this Jewish child. But if it would be, I got my Christian blood. Spicy, delicious. I got my Jewish nose. I have filth, because Jews are all filth. And more than anything else, what does 80 have? Money!
I don't know, guys. Well, I want to be very clear. Jews are not filth. Rabbi Shmuley is in fact filth. And if that is going to inspire an FBI report, because I say he's filth and I am just going to maintain that opinion until the day I die, I guess I gotta get visited by the FBI. I don't know if they're gonna knock, who's there? Excuse me, did you not allow Rabbi Shmuley to just attack you for 2 years unchecked? Who do you think you are? I mean, it's just, okay. Is this why we're going to the police? It's like, I'm going to the FBI. What? I'm going to the FBI.
Yeah, so that went long, but I wanted you all to get the gist of it from her show. So they did file an FBI report when Candace went after them because of her platform at the time and the size of her audience. At that time, she had 4 million followers on Twitter, and she has more now, not to mention her other social media channels, which may have some overlap, of course. Anyway, Rabbi Shmuley it's spelled Botich, and she actually does say his name correctly, and I think it's Bodiak or something like that. Anyway, we'll hear it, and I'm going to try to work it into my head. But every time I look at it, it says Botich.
Where is it?
Boteach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, from my angle, sorry about that. From my angle, it looks like Boleach.
Yeah. Well, she does say it right, and I'm going to try to absorb that. But anyway, he's been a famous rabbi for some time. But Candace went low, calling his daughter a hag. She will do this several times. I saw some photos, and his daughters just look like normal people, of course. For Candace to do this is, of course, mean-spirited and in line with the broader scope of who she is. But wait, there's more.
Radical Zionism and the picture of that, it's these two. Obviously, they do tremendous harm to the Jewish community. I mean, and I know, I want to be clear, there are virtually no people in the Jewish community that think that his brand is good for them. You've heard Jewish people on the show, whether Zionist or not, say that they obviously recognize that he is unhinged. And he is unhinged while at the same time insisting that I am unhinged. But yeah, they reported that he went to the FBI to file a complaint against me because I am saying that he and his daughter are trying to murder me. Yeah, no, I didn't say that, but he thinks that I've said that. And he said also because I insinuated that he killed Michael Jackson. I have literally no idea what he's talking about, but I want him to just do what he and his hag daughter feel needs to be done. I think their relationship is very strange. I've said that. I think it's weird to sell sex products with your father, and I think it's weird that they just won't step into the background. You know, if he actually cares about the plight of Jewish people, he should probably realize that he's not the best spokesperson, because people all around the world of all races and all religions pretty much accept the fact that Rabbi Shmuley is just unwell, just a mentally unwell individual. And he needs a little more than maybe just some rest at a hospital, just a little bit of rest, take a break, do the thing that celebrities say when they say they're suffering from exhaustion. And he can take his little outfit with him if he'd like to. But yeah, I just had to show that because I thought it was absolutely hilarious that he's actually gone to the FBI to report me. He's like, you will support Israel and say something about Kanye West, or else we're going to the FBI. Totally normal mainstream stuff, you guys. All right.
Okay, so Candace has said that the rabbi was out to get her previously, and she did indicate that she was afraid for her life in a joking manner. But given how ready to throw down some of these people are, the rabbi had a right to be concerned. I don't like his hard Zionism and the support for Israel, no matter what that goes with it. But he has been on a large number of talk shows, and he hosted a family help show on TLC for a while called Shalom in the Home. I never watched it, but it looked like a typical expert comes in to help a family be a family type of thing. For what he is and what he does, he seems well liked by a lot of people. He did write a sex book several years ago that did really well called Kosher Sex. I haven't engaged with it. But it was a bestseller, and one of his daughters, Chana, runs a shop of the same name, Kosher Sex, in Tel Aviv, Israel. It's not the same daughter that received a non-kosher Domino's Hawaiian pizza at her home recently. That one was Rochelle Leah Tuktuk. The rabbi has 3 daughters, and Candace can't seem to grasp that, as she has spoken about all of them at one time or another and simply referred to them as his daughter. Maybe she thinks all Jewish women look the same. Okay, that was a low blow for me, but I had to get one out there after all this shit. Candace finally moves on to the DNC. The next clip, I cut out an ad read of hers for Pure Talk Wireless in the middle.
Speaking of totally normal mainstream stuff, let's talk about the DNC last night. They had their convention. The Democrats had their convention. And, I mean, it went about as expected, I would say. And by as expected, I mean that Donald Trump got a bump in the polls. It's a fact. Donald Trump got a bump in the polls. Strangest moment for me was just seeing people cry when Joe Biden walked out. I don't know, it was like a tear, as if he was coming back from war. They were chanting his name. I'll just show you a very brief clip here of Nancy Pelosi. I think she's saying something in her eyes when she doesn't really want to join this chant, but take a look. We loved you, Joe. Okay, she's like, I don't love him that much. I don't know. Literally, there were people crying when he walked out. I mean, it was like somebody was back from the dead. Totally weird. Well, actually, not weird. He is kind of back from the dead. I get it now. I actually changed my position on that. I get why some people were crying, because it does feel a little bit like he's back from the dead. But, it's just really interesting to kind of see that and just wonder, what it is that people are crying over. And I also want to show you this clip of the issues that they decided to take on. Before we get to that, I do want to thank Pure Talk. I'm going to give you guys a little wireless Okay, back to the DNC, because I'm sure so many of you guys did not actually watch it, but here are the issues, and they just are so theatrical. Speaking, of course, about Project 2025, and I think, by the way, this was actually a moment. I thought it was powerful. Take a listen.
I'm Michigan State Senator Mallory McMorrow, and this is Project 2025. Tonight, I want to tell you about just one aspect of Project 2025. It's planned to turn Donald Trump into a dictator. Okay, right here on page 535, it says, quote, reissue Trump's Schedule F executive order to permit discharge of non-performing employees. Now that doesn't sound that scary, right? But here's what it actually means in plain English. If Donald Trump gets back into the White House, he's going to fire civil servants like intelligence officers, engineers, and even federal prosecutors if he decides that they don't serve his personal agenda.
And that, my friends, is likely why people decided to support Trump, because I think that's kind of the point. I think we do want to fire people in government. I think the whole goal here is to decrease the burden that Americans are facing because of our high taxes, because all the Democrats do, they pretend that there's been a boost in jobs. They're like, oh, we've added 100,000 more jobs in government. We've added it in the IRS, and now they are going to sit there and nickel and dime every hardworking American who's just trying to get by and feed their family. And why don't we fire those people and instead stop spending our money overseas on all of these senseless wars that never seem to end and don't serve any of our interests? I think that is one of the best parts about Project 2025. And by the way, I was happy to see actually one of the writers at the Babylon Bee, Joel Berry, tweeted this morning, like, I actually finally looked through Project 2025. And isn't this what we want? Yes, that is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with it other than the fact that we have allowed the script to be set by Democrats who are operating, I think, with low information, or they generally do want to be taxed into oblivion. I mean, what is the appeal here? I think genuinely Project 2025 is scary for people who don't want to get up and go to work and do anything and simply want governments to just give them handouts. Like they just want that $300 COVID check to roll in every couple of weeks, and they have no sense of purpose. Then I would say do not vote for Donald Trump, do not vote for Republicans. Their mission is to actually have people who want to work be rewarded for that work by decreasing the tax burden. But for the rest of us, that sounds pretty good. So I think that prop that she was holding, which just looked extraordinarily goofy, and everything that she was saying, people at home who are Democrats are going, wait, what's wrong with that? I think that's something that I can get behind, because you know what? We are not living in the best economic climate, which brings me to American financing. I know that
God damn it.
Yeah, 2 ad reads in a 5-minute slot. The rest of the episode is Candace reading viewer comments, and there was nothing new here. People blowing her up with good vibes for her bad lies. Moving on, episode 49 was one we talked about last week, where the Super Tate Bros had been raided again with more charges of rape and pimping. So we can skip that one and get into the next day with...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I honestly wish that I could say happy Thursday to you, but it's not a happy Thursday. It's a dark Thursday, and it's because I'm going to go to prison for a very long time. In fact, Rabbi Shmuley has filed another FBI report against me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it right here at the top. The following is not satire. I am not trying to be funny, and I want you guys to be serious. In fact, this was just published in the Jerusalem Post. That's how serious it is. And here's what it reads. It reads that Rabbi Shmuley's daughter, Raquel, has, quote, reported a threatening pizza delivery to the FBI, escalating tensions in the Botaic-Owens feud over anti-Semitism.
Botaic.
Yes, there was an unkosher pizza that was sent to their home, and the FBI was contacted about me. We're going to talk about that. Also, Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, in case you missed it, they have been released. You know, they were detained. Potentially, they're going to have to go to prison. It turns out the judge says, no, I'm going to release them. But you have got to see this clip, because they certainly, Andrew at least, certainly had some choice words for the establishment media. Truly a must-watch. That's what we have coming up on Candace.
So that's going to be the gist and focus of this show today. But first, Candace is going to explain my favorite films, outside of Star Wars. Suffer with me. This is just over 4 minutes long. I've titled it, Welcome to the Tate Tricks.
let's jump right into this. Let's start with Andrew Tate because he is constantly referencing the Matrix. He always talks about the Matrix is attacking me. Let's actually slow that down for a second. Why is he saying that? What does he mean when he says the Matrix is coming after me? Well, of course, you're going, Candace. Obviously, he's referring to the movie, the series, the 1999, it began in 1999, the series The Matrix, which if you haven't seen it, I don't know why you haven't. It actually is a fantastic set of films. It really is. But I'll tell you briefly. It's about the technological downfall of humanity. Okay? It presents a world in which humans are not aware that they are being enslaved by artificial intelligence. Essentially, reality is being simulated for them. Like they did, and they believe it's reality, but it's not actually reality. So they have the protagonist of the film. It's this guy named Neo. He is described as the One, and he's hunted down by agents and deemed to be a terrorist threat to the false reality that the machine has created. The threat that Neo poses, by the way, is simply that he might free human minds. He might wake up people to understanding that, wait a second, our reality is now being simulated for us. And of course, that would be a threat for the machine. Then there is the character, the Agent Smith. Everybody remembers Agent Smith, for those of you who have seen the films. And though he presents as a human, he's really just, per Wikipedia, AI. An AI program in the Matrix that is programmed to keep order within the system by terminating any human simulacra that would bring instability to the simulated reality, as well as any rogue programs that no longer serve a purpose to the machine collective. So essentially, he shows up to take people out when they stop realizing that, when they start to realize rather that they are in a simulated reality. He wants to make sure that doesn't spread. That's almost like a virus, realizing like, oh, wait a second, it's not so. Everything is not what it seems. And so it might seem childish to some people when Andrew Tate says that we are living in a matrix, but I am not one of those people that deems it to be childish because I see exactly what he's speaking about. And I would imagine that a lot of people who watch this podcast also see it, right? We are recognizing that we have a bunch of Agent Smiths. Another term for that might be Operation Mockingbird, who are sent out to protect and to defend the state, if we're looking at them as the machine that is simulating our reality all the time. And I think probably no clearer example of that in the past than watching the way that people who were saying, hey, maybe don't run out and get this new vaccine, were instantly slapped down. A bunch of Agent Smiths came out, said, you're dangerous. You're going to kill grandma. You're a grandma killer. You're so selfish. You had psychologists writing articles claiming that even people who had perceived themselves as perhaps wanting to think about the vaccine were displaying symptoms of being a psychopath. I mean, the entire machine was making people believe that in reality everyone was going to die unless they got in line. That, my friends, is the Matrix. And there have been a lot of times that this has happened. We saw this with the Me Too movement. We saw this with BLM. And you can see how people really are programmed according to whatever it is that they are watching across the mainstream media. They're just echoing each other all the time. And people never really peep their head up and imagine, like, hey, what if they're all lying? What if they're enslaving my mind? What if the people that they're telling me are the good guys are the bad guys, and maybe some of the bad guys are the good guys? These are the sorts of thoughts that I've been having for years and recognizing that, yes, there is something there. When the really bad guys are not people that the state goes after, like Jeffrey Epstein, but rather people who are protected by the state, potentially CIA and Mossad, I think Jeffrey Epstein, that was revealed. And then the people who don't really seem that bad, or you're not really sure what they did because there's so many articles coming at you, are pursued ruthlessly. I'm pursued ruthlessly all the time. And we're going to get to that in my FBI report that's being filed against me. And so Andrew Tate saying this is something not to take lightly, and I want to be able to show you what he said as he left prison. Now, brief.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I think she's missing the part where, when Agent Smith identifies Neo, or identifies anybody that's not adhering, usually that program shows up, locks down the person, and then goes, conform, or we shoot you, and when we shoot you, you'll be gone. I think she's missing that part where, it was like only a small rebel group and they couldn't really wake everybody up. Just saying, she's missing the lethality of
Oh, she's
Agent
missing
Smith
a lot.
here.
She's missing a lot.
Yeah.
A lot that I know as a fan of this series that was also video games and short stories on the Matrix, on enterthematrix.com. Neil Gaiman had a wonderful one on there. and also a series of comics and the Animatrix. There's a whole fucking universe there for which one can engage with stuff. And she does not know any of it, and I have written a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that was a lot of nothing. Yeah, I wonder if Candace knows that the Matrix filmmakers, the Wachowskis, both underwent full transition several years ago, and The Matrix has been lauded as a trans allegory film. I doubt she knows this. The Wachowskis confirmed that The Matrix was a trans allegory several times over the years, to the point that the red pill was based on estrogen at the time.
Really?
Yep. Which came in red pills. And probably not ironically, but Viagra and other dick pills are sometimes blue. There's Viagra, there's Blue Chew. Those are the two that I can think of right away. There may be more. I think it's funny that yet again Candace used a Wikipedia entry on her show to explain something to her audience. But I guess it's good that she at least credited it, probably with the knowledge that her fans won't call out the obvious double standard of her using Wikipedia when she has talked so much shit about it before. I guess it's better than what Alex Jones does, which is describe movies and TV shows badly, often mispronouncing the names of established characters. Like when he talks about Watchmen.
Why does he talk about Watchmen?
Listen to Knowledge Fight. That's what I'm going to fucking tell you.
Okay.
When he talks about Watchmen, he mispronounces the name of Ozymandias.
Okay.
Which isn't a name that Alan Moore invented. That's from an old, English story or some shit.
Okay.
I don't know. That's as far back as I go. But, yeah. He mispronounces the name Ozymandias constantly. He calls him Ozymandamus. He inserts letters to make it dumber and more hard to pronounce. It's infuriating to hear him talk about Watchmen. And I'm talking about just the movie.
Okay, so he
doesn't, I don't think he even knows it was a comic book. He certainly has no interest in the TV show since it, takes place after, long after the events in the film, and also the Tulsa massacre is a major focus of that show.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Yeah, no, he doesn't engage with that shit at all.
Of course.
Yeah, so, anyway, as for the meat of what she said, it can be dangerous in a way. What I mean is that the idea of seeing our political opponents as enemy agents is almost as bad as seeing them as demon worshippers, stealing your babies, or rabbis poisoning wells. It's all the same dehumanization tactic. In the film series, of course, the agents can be anyone taking over connected minds for their own use to rapidly move about in the Matrix, which justifies killing anyone that isn't freed from the system. Which works in fiction. But these fools bring this allegory into the real world, and it's used to justify violence on their enemies, whether they're using fictional characters from the Matrix or Star Wars or whatever. The idea is the same. Dehumanize, de-empathize, eliminate. Which is nothing new, but it is a classic Nazi tactic, and it's one that we can't allow ourselves to fall into if shit gets physical in the future. Anyway, Candace goes on to talk about the Tate Bros.
Just to remind you guys, his house was raided again. Him and his brother were detained. It was very likely, a very high chance that they were going to be put back in prison until actual charges were brought against them. They say they are investigating the same thing, a human sex trafficking ring that there has been evidence of, but I guess not a lot or enough evidence of to actually bring them to trial, which they have been asking now for years. Please begin this trial with the evidence that you have. You are saying we're human sex traffickers. You are tarnishing our reputation. You're tarnishing our name. We demand a trial. And they're like, nope, we're still investigating. We've got to call all these women that you know. And so they got raided again, and the judge sought to release them. The circumstances that Andrew Tate is going to be released to house arrest, and Tristan Tate can move around Romania, but he can't actually leave the state, pending further or never-ending investigation. Now, I want to show you this clip of Andrew Tate outside of the courthouse yesterday in Bucharest. Before I tell you that the new charges that they are bringing up against him and what this is really about, take a listen to Andrew Tate, and you will notice that he says, the first thing he says is that he's built different. I love that. Take a listen.
Yeah, I just did a slow jack-off motion. So just to remind everyone, we talked about this last week, but the Tates were hit with another raid on their compound due to brand new charges of them coercing 34 women to make porn, using the Loverboy method to lure them to Romania, and also separate charges for sex with a minor that was 15, and exploiting a 17-year-old foreign national for financial gains. Several items, including cash, watches, computers, data storage devices, and vehicles were seized in the raid. But let's hear Andy tell it. It's an outside press conference and the audio isn't great, but I hope it plays well. Anyway, here we go.
You are okay?
Free man. Built differently.
Yes?
Built differently. Of course. Better than okay.
Oh, are free? Free,
Yeah.
free.
Listen, I'm going to say something to everybody. Listen to me. I moved to Romania 10 years ago, and I found an amazing country full of beautiful people. And I told the whole world about Romania. If you mention the name Romania anywhere in the world, they'll say, Andrew, take this there, Andrew, take this there. I've done nothing but promote this country. I've done nothing but say fantastic things about Romania endlessly. And when I did this, people would say to me, if Romania is so nice, if it's so safe, it's so beautiful, why has it got such a bad reputation? And I said, well, there's probably a few bad actors, a few bad people who destroyed the entire reputation. Like the few fools at DCOT who just came along and told us that the mothers of our children are somehow human trafficked. I've been nice, I've been patient, I've played the game, I've respected the judiciary, I've gone to every appointment on time. But they busted my house again. And now I've come along saying there's 35 victims. You know, all 30 of those girls, 30 of them, have statements in our defense. 30 saying we've done absolutely nothing wrong. Two more of the mothers of our children, and 2 more have never even been to Romania. They've never even been here. They just found random girls we knew in other countries and made them sign pieces of paper. This is a setup. It's absolutely disgusting. Fair play to that judge who saw through the bull let us free. Okay. And also, one more thing. The media is complicit. All of you are. When they first threw us in jail, when they first put us in there, you're all running around saying human trafficker. None of you said, where's the evidence? Where's the proof? Where's the pictures? Where's the videos? None. 3 years later, they do the same bull, and you're all sitting there going, human trafficking. I'm not a human trafficker, clearly. If you human traffic someone, there is evidence. This is a setup, it's a stitch up. The 3 prosecutors at DCOT in my house, I said, why are you here? There's no case. They said, there's a case if we make one. This is a setup. All of it is. And listen, quiet. I'm not talking to you, sir. Quiet. Quiet. Be quiet. This is a setup. It is done on purpose, and it is designed to come up with the most heinous possible crimes to slander our name. And every single Romanian citizen should be disgusted that they are spending millions of euros wasting their time trying to put innocent men in jail instead of fixing the roads, fixing the hospitals, fixing this country. You have a beautiful country full of beautiful people, and 3 idiots at DCOT have everything. As for money laundering, sure, I'll approach that. Money laundering, no problem. Supposedly we're money launderers because we buy luxury goods and we try and hide that we buy luxury goods for other people and hide our money. If you buy your girlfriend a handbag in Romania, they charge you with money laundering. This is disgusting. Disgusting. We have children. This is disgusting. Thank you.
How does that clip?
Okay, so regarding all that shit he said, there's nothing I could find about the victims overwhelmingly speaking in defense of the Tates. The Tates were released on the word of their lawyers, bringing up that they had been exemplary inmates and had complied so far with house arrest and could be trusted to stay in Romania, especially since their vehicles had all been seized. As for the rest, no one has publicly come to the defense of these guys from the victim pool. And if he is right, that the mothers of their kids are among the victimized, well, that's a whole other level of wrong if they were forced in some way to have those kids against their will. I'm not saying that is a thing, but, you know, I wouldn't be shocked. More like horrified.
It is definitely another layer of potential fuck-uppery.
Yeah, you know, but I'm sure that will come out if it has to come out.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Candace goes on.
Make you feel And by the way, you guys, I am seeing in the live chat right now that you are saying that the cops have just apparently, while we are live right now, they have arrived at Andrew Tate's house and Tristan Tate's house again during a live stream. They were just live streaming, I think, about 30 minutes ago. It looks like they came during this emergency meeting. How could the cops need to be here again? I'm asking this question again. I don't have all the facts here, but I'm looking at your guys' comments, and it looks like what you're saying is true. They just got released a few hours ago, and now the cops are back at their house right now.
Yep, it happened again. During a live stream they were doing on Rumble. Apparently, a friend of theirs and fellow streamer known as Aidan Ross tipped off the authorities that Andy Tate had expressed the desire to leave Romania permanently. Now, whether or not that was true, the police apparently showed up to confirm that they were still in the country. Sounds like a shitty friend.
I mean,
he basically tipped off the cops and swatted them.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's fucked up.
Now, if see, he should have, like, dug for some proof first, you know? I'm just saying, if you're live streaming it, most live streaming services save a recording of it for you, or you can save a recording of it for yourself. He should have, like, egged them into giving him some more, you know, usable evidence, and then sent off the recorder. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's as simple as, like, if you're this guy's friend, it's as simple as, like, just asking as a friend, like, man, how are you going to do that? They took all your vehicles and shit. Like, they're watching you. How are you going to...
Yeah.
How are you going to do it? Be smart. How are you going to do this? Yeah. And then you fucking, you know, rat him out or some shit. Like, come on.
Like, you at least get some evidence first and then you do it.
Yeah, well, for this next one, Candace goes on a tear.
How does that make you feel when you hear what he is saying? Like I said, park aside your feelings about the industry that they were involved in. You will get an agreement from me regarding pornography and webcamming and things of that nature. This has been 3 years of his life, okay? Of both of their lives. They have children. They still have not been able to be presented with an actual trial date to show up to defend yourself. And yet all throughout the media, everybody's got a comment because they believe they read somewhere, they read the article. You can ask those people, how many of you guys actually read the case that was put before them? A case that began with allegedly 4 victims. Last 3 years, they're working on a case with 4 victims. Then 3 of those victims dropped out. One of those victims is now being sued by them for defamation in the state of Florida. And magically, they rate them again. And what do you know? You heard what he said there, and I will repeat it for you. They have found 35 new victims. So this was a fishing expedition, no matter which way you slice it. You can't tell me that you first had 4 victims from Andrew Tate, and then you found, while you were making him wait and not allowing him to leave the state, 35 more victims. Now, I have not looked at these 35 more victims. I've been in communication with him. I'm asking him to send me the new documents because I want to fact check all of this before I present it to you, the public. But what he has said in that clip and what he confirmed to me today in a statement was that 31 of those 35 victims gave statements in favor of Andrew and Tristan Tate. Essentially, once again, the state is deeming them victims, and they are saying, we are not victims. Same thing that happened with the other 3 victims in the prior case. He's saying that 2 of them are the separate mothers of he and Tristan's children, okay? So that would bring you to 33. And then he's saying the last 2 have never even stepped foot in Romania, and they exist in the UK. Now, again, I am taking his word for it when he says that, and I have not done my own due diligence. What I can say is that it is utterly absurd that any person would have their movements restricted for 3 years and not even being given a trial date. So simply what's happening right now is they are playing this case in the media. Every single person has an opinion of it. Very few people have actually read it. When I got my hands on the documents, I had to transfer it over into English because it's in Romanian, and I had to try to cross-reference with what person he was speaking about and ask specific questions. Like he says to the media right there in front of him, you are the Matrix. Why didn't any of you do due diligence? Why aren't you guys reporting on the facts? Why has it just been me who took a look into that case and said, hey guys, this kind of looks like crap? I've looked into it, and it was. What was sitting in front of me. Not the videos that are circling on the internet, not the videos that people are saying, well, listen here, he said that he did have underage webcam. That's not what is happening in this. This is not what this court case is about.
Yes, it is about that, and so much more. Now, Candace said that she read a translated copy of the legal papers, right?
Yeah.
Well, if that is true, it might have been illegal for her to have done that. If the papers actually existed, or if he sent them to her, and here's why. I looked up whether or not I could get my digital hands on those case files. Because if Candace could do it, I should be able to figure it out. I'm not that smart, but I think if she and her team are capable, surely I have a shot. Well, guess what? The authorities in Romania are about as tight-lipped as our own police forces when a case is ongoing. They will respond to an American Freedom of Information Act request, but it would go about as well with them as it does here, which is bare minimum information until after a case is concluded. If Andrew or Tristan Tate sent Candace Owens legal paperwork from Romania, they might have committed a serious offense. She would be fine, of course, being here, but they could have seriously jeopardized their own defense by handing that to a media person in another country. So I don't buy that as having happened. I don't buy that she got these magic pages and ran them through Translate and asked him a bunch of questions. I would buy for $1, the most likely thing, that he told her all this stuff and she spun it.
Yeah.
As for the Florida case, it is a real case.
Oh.
And the Tates are seeking $5 million. Regardless of whether or not this shakes out, I'm not surprised that a Florida judge is allowing it to proceed, even given the heinous crimes these guys have been charged with in the UK and Romania. And while we're on it, they have not been fighting this for 3 years. Not exactly, anyway. Their trouble started in 2022 in Romania. The UK wants them for shit they did between 2012 to 2015, which includes rape, human trafficking, sexual assault, and tax evasion from their web businesses, Hustlers University, and War Room. The constantly changing number from Andy and Candace on 30-plus victims, the truth there is that women have been identified or come out to enjoin themselves to the case with the help and protection of the authorities. These are not good men. Good men or women not only don't have a long string of accusations follow them around into different countries, they don't have to tend to have those accusations in the first fucking place.
Yeah. Usually.
Yeah. Yeah, like ever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like if someone has a bad reputation in one neighborhood as being like a creep, and then he goes to another neighborhood or another job,
yeah,
and that follows him into that, and then, okay.
Mm-hmm.
A third time? Bro, you're a fucking creep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's not good.
Oh, no.
It's not good. Yeah.
It usually never is.
Yeah.
At all.
So, here we go with the next clip.
You have to read the actual documents and then ask yourself why they are trying to execute this trial by the media. What is this actually about? Now it's about money laundering? Is it about a webcam business? Is it about human sex trafficking? Is it about all three, according to the public?
Yes.
Why does the media hate these two men so much when we know there are worse villains? And so, yes, I am looking at this now. I'm pulling up this status. It looks like 5 minutes ago, Andrew Tate posted, they were live doing their show, and they posted that the police were showing up once again on their security cameras because there must have been something that they forgot 24 hours ago when they had these two young men detained. So we will keep you guys posted on that, but I'm really thinking that all of this is completely unacceptable. We're seeing a miscarriage of justice in the simple treatment that people do deserve to have a speedy trial, okay? Whether you hate these guys, whether you love these guys, whether you believe these guys, whether you think they are lying, you have a right to have a speedy trial, not have...
Yeah, here we go again. Candace doing the alt-right ding-dong thing of not understanding a basic and simple fact. Namely, that countries like Romania don't operate with the same legal system as America.
Yeah.
The only thing, like the right to a fair and speedy trial there, is a framework provided by the EU Human Rights Commission, which states that undue delays in criminal trials must be avoided. However, there are conditional areas where cases can go on for some time. Andy and Tristan could have pressed the issue via their lawyers to move the trial along, but I have to assume that there are reasons they haven't done so. They can say they did, But doing it in public and being all performative and doing it in private with your attorney are different things.
Yeah.
My best guess is that what they are wanted for in the UK is real shit. And even if they are innocent in Romania, they're going to the UK after the Romanian trial.
Yeah.
For what I assume is a case waiting to go, with probably something they want to keep avoiding.
Mm-hmm.
What Candace has never mentioned in all of this shit, what she hasn't mentioned specifically are the UK cases. Which, you know, again, bringing up the point here, in case you all missed it, if they push for a speedy trial in Romania, regardless of how it shakes out, guilty or innocent, they're still going to Britain after this.
Yeah.
Britain's in the queue. British people know how to wait.
Oh, yeah.
As was demonstrated in, you know, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arthur Dent strides up confidently at the Vogan headquarters and is like, I know how to queue.
Yeah.
I'm British. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's where they're at. So, yeah, regardless of how it shakes out in Romania, it might be in their best interest for it to keep taking time.
Yeah.
Because no matter what happens in Romania, Britain is fucking waiting.
Oh, yeah.
And the British are Europeans. They know how to hold a grudge.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to wait. Boy, do they ever. So, before Candace gets into other stuff, she has a new ad read.
Oh, fuck.
I do want to thank our sponsor here, Beam, because look, we all know that sleep is the foundation of whole body health. When we sleep well, our minds and bodies perform at their best. Good sleep is both mental and physical, and our daily performance depends on it. Beam's science-backed dream powder is tested for high-quality efficacy and formulated to ease your body into rest, supporting all 4 stages of the sleep cycle to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of 5 key ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, you have apigenin, and melatonin. This blend helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. Right now, my listeners get a special discount on their healthy hot cocoa for sleep, and it has no added sugar. You just mix Dream into hot water or milk, froth, and enjoy before bed. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Candace and use code Candace at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Candace and use code Candace for up to 40% off. Better sleep has never tasted better.
Yeah, this one. So I checked out the site and the products, and the prices are generally in line with what I've seen for similar stuff, which is to say that I still find them prohibitively expensive against, say, the cost of eating well.
Yeah.
Maybe this stuff will work for people, but it's not for me. It's just funny to me that she's hit another supplement company. The grift continues. Next up, Candace goes on to discuss the story regarding Rabbi... God, what do we say? Bodiak?
Yeah,
Botaic. That was it.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember it.
Botaic.
And his daughter that she spoke about in the cold open. One of Rabbi Botaic's daughters received a Domino's Hawaiian pizza at her home in Florida, and it was unpaid for, but it was registered to her father's old home number. They blame Candace and or her influence for it. They claim to have filed an FBI report, and they've called it an anti-Semitic attack. Now, I get where they're coming from, and I don't want to land on either side here, since he is a Zionist that doesn't seem to see anything wrong with the Gaza genocide, and Candace is Candace. But that being said, I doubt she would have done something this petty, personally. She does say that she thinks it is funny, which I find problematic because it will encourage whoever did it, if it was a fan of hers, to do more. I'm only playing the clip to stay within the context of our show.
All right, let's get into Rabbi Shmuley. Let's just start with it. Obviously, you guys have been following. It's not a back forth. Rabbi Shmuley and his daughter have just been harassing me for years. And I don't know, it's incredible that you have journalists who take him at his word and continue to publish everything he says about the attacks against him and his daughter, even though they are very clearly the people that are harassing. I can't say that I did not laugh a lot of it when my PR texted me, and all my PR said, he said, no comment. Because what can you say when you see a headline like this? What can you actually say when you read a headline from the Jerusalem Post that says that the FBI has been contacted over Hawaiian pizza? So I will just read for you here, I guess, the facts, okay? It reads, in a new development in the ongoing feud between Rabbi Shmuley and controversial conservative media figure Candace Owens, the rabbi's daughter, Raquel Leah, has filed a complaint with the FBI after receiving what she believes was a threatening message delivered in the form of a pizza to her home in Florida. It's going to get worse.
Florida again.
According to an email sent to the FBI and obtained by the Jerusalem Post, good on them to obtain it, his daughter received a Domino's pizza at her home on August 20th, 2024. The non-kosher pizza, yeah, you didn't know it was going to go get this disgusting. It was non-kosher. The non-kosher pizza, which she did not order, was delivered with a receipt bearing her name and her address, but with a phone number that belonged to her father, Rabbi Shmuley. Pizza had not been paid for, raising immediate concerns. So, when I read that, I think, hey, maybe your dad ordered a pizza and didn't pay for it. I don't know, maybe your dad's a little cheap. You know, maybe just got you a pizza and because he wanted to stage a false flag against him. I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't have received a pineapple pizza and thought, this is Candace Owens. But that's what she thought. And so she sent an email and she filed an FBI complaint. And, you know, she was nice enough to include proof of that in an email that she forwarded. She wrote this email to a bunch of contacts, including her father. Today I received a pizza pie from Domino's, which I did not order. The receipt, which I have attached below, had my name and address and my parents' old home phone number. The pie had not been paid for. And there's proof that this pizza definitely came to her house. I mean, they posted the receipts, literally the receipt. Here it is. Look at this is a receipt. We cannot deny the evidence that order number 27 came in. Okay, look, you can see. Looks like the deliverer has got his hands on it. It was an order for. It looks like a 14-inch hand-tossed Hawaiian pizza.
That's a large.
And it wasn't paid for. You can see in the corner. Bring it back up. We have to show them. This is disturbing. I'm scared for her family, their safety. You can see in the corner under number 27, it says that the pizza was not paid for. We must stomp out anti-Semitism and all of its forms. I want to be real clear here. All of its forms. And so on this rare occasion, I stand with Rabbi Shmuley and his daughter, and I hope that the FBI does not spare any expense when it comes to catching this horrific individual who ordered an unpaid Hawaiian pizza to the home of Rabbi Shmuley's daughter. So I stand with you, and I know that anti-Semitism is a hate that mutates, and I can see that is exactly what has happened in this circumstance. And so I wanted to share that with my audience. If you see something, say something. If you see a Domino's boy looks a little suspicious, please be privileged as Raquel is. And so she didn't call the local police. You gotta love that. You know, you got black people who say like, we call 911 in the hood, the police doesn't even show up. I want to be Raquel. I want to grow up so privileged that my instinct when I get a pizza is to like call the FBI. Like I'm gonna email the FBI. I forget the local police. I'm gonna email the FBI. Bless this family, or something. All right, guys. I want to move on and.
Yeah, so I think all that did was encourage more and possibly bolder attacks on these people. But because Candace said the right words on record, she may use this in her legal defense if she has to mount one later on. It's fucking disgusting behavior, and in line with her beliefs, so I shouldn't be shocked. Anyway, she goes on to discuss the divorce of Ben Affleck and J-Lo, and I couldn't care less. They're both talented people, and I am a fan of Affleck's work. I loved him as Batman, and I don't care what anyone thinks about that. But more to the point, there's no use in there's no value in hearing her shit take on a bad situation, so we're skipping it. On to the viewer comments, she gets into some super chats, which again are where people have paid to have her read whatever they've written. And she does a couple, then does a quick ad read, and comes back into it with several minutes of repeating her talking points on the Frankists, the Great Reset via World War III. And then we get this, which tells me that her people are not filtering the super chats.
That's my viewpoint. I would love to see what you hear about that. Up North Society wrote this. This is what I promised you in the chat. Yes, it is actually me that I would answer. They write, Candace, please do more research on Andrew Tate. He has admitted on video how he has used cam girls to scam men and date 16-year-olds. He has admitted it. I am not telling you that there are not. I have seen those old clips of him and his brother that everybody brings up. The point that you are missing is he is not being prosecuted for scamming men or dating 16-year-olds. That is the point that I am trying to make to you. So if somebody says something on the internet,
he is being prosecuted.
Whether it's a UFC fighter and they're...
He is being prosecuted for dating teenage girls.
Well, I'm confused.
We paused the clip, but go on.
She's dismissing the...
Uh-huh.
Okay, so she's dismissing the fact that they are being... They're being charged with, their various crimes that they are.
Uh-huh.
But then just very casually just accepted that, yes, they have done this, but no, they're not being prosecuted for that. Did she just fucking do that?
Yeah, there's more. There's more.
Trying to be funny or they're trying to get views and be controversial. That means nothing in terms of what's happening in the courtroom. And in terms of what he was being prosecuted for, it was for human sex trafficking regarding 4 individuals. And 3 of them dropped out, and 1 of them is being sued for defamation in Florida. So we can't just say, because I don't like that this person said on camera that he scammed men via webcam services, that I'm happy for him to be sent away for human sex trafficking. And I think that's what I keep trying to communicate to people. And again, people keep falling for the trap of, okay, but like this person has said bad stuff, or this person was involved in the porn industry however many years ago. That's not the proper way for us to think. A justice system can't work that way. That is not just at all. That's actually like asking for like social justice, right? Like, I'm upset about this video I saw, so prosecute him for anything. And that is what we saw and just watched with Trump, right? If they just wanted him for anything at all, and they eventually got the prosecution, even though we all knew that a lot of what they were doing and the things that they were digging up were only done because they wanted to destroy this man for political reasons. Nothing new under the sun writes,
Oof. And that is why even the fans of these people can't get through. For one thing, the original 4 that went after the Tates, the 3 that she mentioned, dropped out because the case got larger than they were prepared to deal with, and they didn't want the social shame of their names being published. The women in the UK that have gone after the Tate brothers are all protected under the seal of the courts due to the nature of the crimes. They are still very much in this fight. But the fact that Candace just wipes away admissions that the Tates have given on their Hustler University videos to paying clients, who are often vulnerable-minded young men, well, it says a lot, not to mention her constant defense of Trump. Just once I want to see one of these people have a spine and turn on him, because he would not protect them under similar circumstances. Candace does more comments, and there's nothing new, so we'll move on to her Friday show from that week, episode 51.
I mean, where do we even begin? I guess at the top of this week, you had the media trying to convince you that I was unhinged, that I had gone crazy, because I was freaking out over the fact that the ADL was trying to rehabilitate a convicted pedophile.
Nope.
And that was not true. Obviously, everything they were saying was not true. But today I am feeling a little bit unhinged and a little crazy, because I had planned to announce to you guys today that I was going to vote for Kamala Harris.
Whatever.
Truly. Because Beyonce was supposed to perform at the DNC, and everybody knows that if you're black and Beyonce tells you how to vote, you simply do it. But no, after all of the hype, she made no such appearance, which means I'm going to have to vote on the issues instead. And I feel like today I'm going to have to take a stance for black people who are just feeling tremendously let down from all of the hype they did not deliver on. In other news, it looks like RFK Jr. has officially dropped out and endorsed Trump. We're going to speak about that. And if for some reason you thought it was going to end with Rabbi Shmuley contacting the FBI, over unkosher pizza, you have not been paying attention to my life recently. Because apparently the Home Affairs Minister of Australia has said he plans to personally block my visa application to enter the country after being pressured by the Zionist Federation of Australia. What on earth is going on, people? Let's talk about it. All that coming up. And plus, as I promised you in the chat, I have the raw footage of the video of me singing in the intro to share with you. That's what's coming up on Candace.
So, yes, there is a lot here that we're not going to fuck with, and some things that we'll have to fuck with, such as this life. Candace spends the first 5 minutes of this show talking about the Democratic National Convention, and she goes off for several more minutes talking about how Oprah spoke and poet Amanda Gorman. And then she spends several minutes dancing on the grave of the idea that Beyonce was supposed to play at the DNC on the night that Kamala Harris formally accepted the nomination.
So people were like, yes, it's amazing, it's happening. And then what happened next was that it didn't happen at all. It didn't even kind of happen. Well, maybe if you count Kamala Harris when she hit the stage, she walked out to Beyonce's song, Freedom. And she just came out there and people went crazy and they heard the Freedom song and probably a little bit they still thought, okay, maybe Beyonce's like around the corner and she's behind her. But no, that was it. Like it was just Kamala Harris. And so instantly, obviously, the left-leaning networks worked overtime to kind of spin this to the people to make them realize, like, this is not disappointing. Like, we lied to you and we leaked the fact that Beyonce was coming and she didn't come, but you should still be encouraged because take it away, CNN.
In anticipation here and elsewhere that there may be a special guest, I am told by Democrats that Kamala Harris was their guest. They did not want a celebrity at the end of this convention to essentially compete with her. One senior advisor telling me this is a deadly serious election. And if you looked at the end of this program, having Leon Panetta come on, the former defense secretary, really presenting Vice President Harris as a plausible commander-in-chief, that is one of the reasons I'm told that there was not a celebrity performance at the end.
And he probably deserved to be punched in the face for that excuse, like just saying basically Kamala is your new Beyonce. Take it or leave it. We didn't want anybody to take away the energy away from Kamala. Like, this is your new Beyonce. So we said it was Beyonce, but what we meant is like, it's kind of like a Beyonce. You know, Kamala is the new thing. She's black and we expect you to worship her. And so what if she doesn't sing or she can barely speak any English? We saved it for the end because we wanted to introduce you to your new black, formerly Indian American queen. And I don't think that made much sense. I also really appreciated when he said, you know, this is a deadly serious election. I mean, we're not...
So this is the general tone. Candace, gleeful that the mainstream press created their own hype machine and then fell flat on their faces. I expect her to bring this up time and again in the future because she likes to pretend that she doesn't do this exact fucking thing.
Here to play games and make you think that you should have, you know, celebrities to follow. That would be, by the way, a very good policy, that we shouldn't be using stars to attract votes. I just feel like maybe that CNN reporter forgot that they had already brought Little John out on stage. Remember? Take a listen.
Georgia, how do you cast your votes?
Deadly
so cool.
serious
So
election, y'all. Deadly serious. So it was the old bait and switch. It happens, and it shouldn't happen, but it did, and we're going to have to just accept that. And I appreciate everybody making...
I just have to pause this to say that he came out and did a turn down for what?
Really?
Yeah. It's worth finding on YouTube. It's so good. And it's been talked about on other shows, but they were like, he had no heart because he should have done, you know, he should have rhymed walls with balls. He should have done it. He had the opportunity and he didn't. He didn't take it. But yeah, it's great. It's so great.
TikToks explaining how upset they are by this, and this is one young lady who took to TikTok to vent her frustration. Take a listen.
Whoever started the rumor that Beyonce was going to be at the DNC convention tonight, I hope your pillow stays hot. on both sides. The way that I stayed up to damn near midnight to have Beyonce all in my mouth like liquor just for y'all to play in my face, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm like 15 minutes in and it's about to be over, and I see a tweet that says Beyonce's not even coming. Why would y'all play like that? Like, why would y'all play like that? It was the whole thing was good, by the way. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it from start to finish. But why would y'all sit there and tell us Beyonce was coming when you knew she wasn't? I'm going to sleep.
First and foremost, I completely agree with this girl, and I'm going to start saying that to people. Like, you know what I give you, what I curse you with? Yeah, a hot pillow on both sides, because how dare you pull the old, what we now refer to as the bay-in switch, and not bring her out. And I also want to point to the fact that girl just riffing sounded to me like modern poetry. Get that girl a scholarship to Harvard, put her on the cover of Time magazine, and she also similarly has great skin. But she asked the question, why would they do this? And so I just want to very quickly answer you. Because they know that if they suggest that Beyonce is going to be somewhere, that all Black Americans will pay attention. And all they actually wanted you to do was pay attention to everything else that was happening that evening to bring you and draw you into the party, not on the basis of their ideas, not on the basis of their values, but on the basis of, hey, like, you know, you like Beyonce, we've got Lil Jon, we earlier gave you Megan Thee Stallion raising money. Don't you see we are the party that at least recognizes that Beyonce is the queen? And again, this is your new, formerly Indian, now fully Black queen, Kamala Harris. Take it or leave it, ladies and gentlemen. And for me personally, I just would like to leave it. And that's all I'm going to say on that topic. I want to throw it to one of our amazing sponsors, by the way. We can do some good in the world. If you've heard about 7 Weeks Coffee, you're already drinking coffee. Why not drink coffee that aligns perfectly with conservative and Christian values?
I'm sorry, but when I have my cup of coffee in the morning, I don't think, oh, thank Jesus for my cup of coffee.
Well, we'll see if that's the end of her DNC talk before we get into 7 Weeks Coffee. But also, here are some names of some of the musical luminaries that performed at the RNC this year for the Republicans. Kid Rock.
All right.
Lee Greenwood, the guy that made the Proud to be an American, God Bless the USA song. Chris Jansen, I have no idea who the fuck that is. Jason Aldean, who had a semi-hit earlier in the year with Try That in a Small Town. And cover band, known as Six Wire, that played throughout the convention, covering songs by bands that wanted nothing to do with the RNC, like the Foo Fighters, who have threatened to sue the Trump campaign because they keep playing the song My Hero when they have been told not to, on repeat.
Jesus.
So, yeah, I don't know if they threatened to sue or if they're putting the lawsuit through, but yes. Other notable intellectual heavyweights at the RNC this year were Hulk Hogan, former porn star Amber Rose, and Russell Brand, who did his show from the convention and performed stand-up at a couple of local campus-based venues in Milwaukee. Aside from Candace blowing up Amber Rose's speech, she never mentioned any of the other circus being there. The RNC was an entertainment event too. Jesus. Moving on. I left the bit about the coffee brand in there so that we can hear the ad I've heard way too many times.
They're on the mission to fund the pro-life movement, one cup of delicious coffee at a time. 7 Weeks Coffee cuts out the middleman, paying farmers directly and giving them 300% more than fair trade requires. 7 Weeks Coffee is launching an exciting new initiative called Drink More Coffee, Save More Lives, because they are so close to saving 5,000 lives. By the way, if you're wondering about their name, at 7 weeks of a baby's development, the baby is the size of a coffee bean, and it's the first time a heartbeat is clearly detected on an ultrasound. That's why they donate 10% of every sale to support ultrasound services at pregnancy care centers across the country. For my listeners, when you subscribe, you'll receive extra savings and get a free Drink Coffee Save Lives tote on your first order. So go to 7weekscoffee.com and use code Canada to save up to 25%. Make the commitment to drink 7 Weeks Coffee every morning and you'll be a part of funding the pro-life movement and helping to save over 5,000 baby lives and counting. That's 7weekscoffee.com and use code Candace to save up to 25% off. Okay, guys.
Okay. I know we don't want to really throw any money at anything like this.
Right.
But I like the slogan, drink coffee, save lives.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not for what they're pushing it as,
Right.
but meant as a silent threat.
Or even just like, hey, Mr. Airline Pilot, you look tired. Here's a cup of Joe. You know? Drink coffee, save lives. Please drink the coffee, sir. Yeah, I know you're overworked. I know. Just one more flight. Get these people to Buffalo. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, so I went to the site. I did. I finally went to the site. As I do for all of these, within my own time frame. Holy fuck, they want an egregious amount of money.
How much?
Ethiopian dark roast, if you're buying one time only and not on subscription, Ethiopian dark roast is over $23 for 12 ounces.
I see. When I heard you start with 23, I thought you were going to say 1,000, but 23. Yeah.
Okay, a similar sized bag of caribou is $10.
Okay, fair enough.
While the reviews are generally favorable and I couldn't find any bad news on the company itself, I won't be buying any with or without Candace's promo code. I'll stick to caribou and almost literally anything else based on price, and also based on the fact that I think pro-life centers really do prey on vulnerable women. And if I wanted to give any charity any support, I would just do that, rather than filter money through a corporate structure. I think the only time I've ever caved in on that rule is with Humble Bundles. But given how they laid off everyone at Humble Games recently, they might not get my support again. Anyway, Candace is having some issues in the land that Men at Work and Crocodile Dundee and Yahoo Serious warned us about. Australia.
We got to get into this story because this is crazy. And maybe it's not crazy. I don't know. I'm not Australian. I've never been to Australia. It's my first time. I guess I should put it into context that this would be crazy in America because we are so radical about speech. Like, I could never imagine anybody in government being like, I'm going to personally see to it that this person does not come into my country because I don't like their speech. Even left and right, tons of disagreements, but like, we very much believe in the 1A. We just believe in freedom of speech and freedom of debate. And if we ever said something that extreme, it would have to be because, Jeffrey Epstein was coming after he had been convicted. Like, it would have to be something that we were just all so incensed about the crime that someone committed that we didn't want someone to step foot on American soil. So I was so shocked to woke up today to this news. It says, and I'll just read to you the headline here. It was in the news.com Australia. Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke to personally review the visa of far-right commentator Candace Owens. It reads, the Home Affairs Minister says he will personally review the visa application of far-right pundit Candace Owens, saying that he hopes she has, quote, a good refunds policy. I told you guys yesterday, we've already sold out of VIP tickets all across Australia. I'm so looking forward to going this. Apparently, he has been lobbied by the Zionist Federation, and he says that he is going to personally review the visa application, and this is coming from the publication, of far-right anti-Semitic speaker Candace Owens, who is scheduled to come to Australia in November for a speaking tour. Mr. Burke, who has discretionary ministerial powers to block or refuse a visa, said it appeared Owens had yet to make an application 3 months out from the shows. And this is what they're purporting is direct quote from him. Tickets to these events are selling for $100. I hope she has a good refunds policy. He goes on to say, my opposition to anti-Semitism and Islamophobia has always been on the record. I have clear legal powers to knock back a visa to anyone who would incite discord. His strong stance has been welcomed by the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, co-chief executive Peter Wordham. Peter says, at a time of unprecedented strains on the cohesiveness of the Australian society, which is very largely the outcome of ignorant and malicious comment on social media, the last thing we need to be importing into our country is yet another so-called celebrity who has made racist and bigoted comments about Jews and other vulnerable groups. Okay, lot going on there.
Okay, so at the time of this writing, her visa to Australia might be under review. What she said there in the article, the government official said that her visa hadn't even been submitted to the office yet. Australia has a robust system for travel visas, and depending on why a person is going there depends greatly on if they'll pass or fail the process and which of the many, many visas they can apply for. Some visas can be granted within 48 hours with a fee, and others can take several weeks. But it seems Candace really wants to go to Australia. She's going to try to cover her ass for the next several minutes, and to anyone familiar with this show, please just laugh along with the lies. It'll help, probably.
We also want to point out that virtually everything that is being purported that I said was definitely not said. As I told you earlier, the Zionist Federation of Australia actually publicly posted on their Instagram calling for me not to be allowed into their country. This, again, I don't know if this is just an American thing. I've never been there. I always assumed there was some like synergy between Australians and Americans, and that there was this like freedom-minded mentality. It'll be my first time there, and I guess I'll get some sort of an assessment. But unimaginable, just truly unimaginable that anyone would take this stance over speech that you're not even citing accurately. This was what was posted by the Zionist Federation of Australia. They wrote, the Zionist Federation of Australia calls for Candace Owens to be refused a visa to enter Australia. Like, what? We believe that granting Candace Owens a visa poses a significant risk of inciting discord within the Australian community and vilifying Jewish Australians along with other minority and ethnic groups. And then they accuse me of extremism and bigotry and all sorts of things. And in the actual caption, they wrote this: she has referred to transgenderism as clinical insanity. I just want to be clear. I did not refer to it as clinical insanity. I learned this in school. I graduated, and in our DSM-5 manual, it was cited. When I was growing up, I understand these things change with every year, that it was a mental disorder. That is what I said. That is just a fact. So presenting this as, clinical insanity is an interesting take on that, and described the LGBTQ plus community. They write this, by the way, and she described the LGBTQ plus community as engaging in sexual debauchery. Okay, again, something intentionally taken out of context. What I am referring to is Pride Month in America across the cities. We have shown you examples of the sexual debauchery that is now taking place at Pride parades. Men riding bicycles naked, men dressed up in BDSM, like leather chains and whips, and basically just acting out sexual fetishes in the name of pride, which I find to be, as a mother, unacceptable. I do not think that this is exemplary of what the LGBTQ community is, and so I call it out because it's wrong and it's perverse. And to make it seem as though I am attacking the LGBTQ plus community, when in fact I feel I'm defending them for people who I believe have this sort of fetish, extreme sexual fetishes that are kind of operating and pretending that this is just about, oh, I'm just lesbian or I'm gay. Like, I grew up in the 90s. People were gay and lesbian, and it didn't spell out that they wanted to wear like leather assless chaps and whip someone in the behind down the street while children were looking. That's a defense, actually, of the LGBTQ plus community. He goes on to write, additionally, she has dangerously insinuated that trans people have been responsible for an increase in mass shootings. Again, this is so dishonest for the Zionist Federation of America to publish this. What I said was an absolute fact. There has been an uptick in America. The last recent shootings that have happened in America have been executed by people that identify as non-binary or transgendered. So we have to talk about the facts without pretending that presenting a fact is a form of bigotry or a form of hate. And I introduce that fact because what I always say is missing from that conversation when we speak about school shootings is trying to understand what drugs people are on that could be impacting their mind. That is an incredibly reasonable take to have that I feel like the Zionist Federation is trying to reposition as a hateful thing. I'm a mother to 3 young children, wanting to get to the root of what is inspiring these shootings. At least, by the way, I'm in Nashville, quite literally a trans person just shot up an elementary school last year. And to say that we're barred from discussing that aspect, and you say you're doing that out of love, I don't know, that feels to me like hate for parents who want to go over and above to protect their children by understanding the issues at hand. Then they say, her harmful rhetoric extends beyond the LGBTQ plus community. Owens has publicly claimed that Muslims started slavery and was disturbingly mentioned in the manifesto of the Christchurch mosque shooter as a significant influence. This just gets dizzying. I can't think of anything more horrific than trying to point to a manifesto which an insane person wrote at the exact same time that you're trying to sell to people that I'm pro-Hamas and anti-Jewish, you're also simultaneously trying to sell to Muslims that I hate them too. So I just hate everybody. There's like no one that I like. There's no side that I'm on. This is exactly why we need to start having these conversations, because when the media engages in this, removing things from context, sometimes just flat out lying, even going so far as to assign meaning to a manifesto that somebody wrote in New Zealand, a place that I've never been to, regarding a topic that I've never spoken about. I actually don't speak about Muslim issues, so it's completely crazy to say this or to pretend that I would ever want a mosque to be shut out. But that's what he's implying, that I wanted a mosque to go through this horrific terrorist attack. That's what he's trying to implant. The Zionist Federation of America is trying to implant that into the minds of Americans, into the mind of Australians, How is this okay? Why is this okay? Simply because you don't agree with something that I've said, you're going to be hyperbolic and remove things from their context and not tell the truth?
Okay, so that was a long one.
Extremely long.
Yeah. But, it's in the service of playing her
unfettered
without being like, so she can't often say about this show that we only play 5 to 10 second clips and take her out of context.
Yeah.
No, that was a full context. And we're going to go through it point by point. I will not replay the clip, not even in parts. We're just going to address what was said. First, the Zionist Federation of Australia didn't object to her visit on Instagram. Second, and it isn't noted in the ZFA statement, but Candace said during the main phase of COVID that the United States military should go and liberate Australia from COVID lockdowns. Candace is pissed off that they are accusing her of bigotry.
That's part of it too, is like, people, don't be racist, don't be this. I'm definitely a bigot. I tell people this all the time. I'm like, that's street smarts, right? Yeah. Predicting what I can garner from just looking at you, the vibes you're giving, what can I understand about what I'm under. I don't trust you. I don't like the way you're moving. I don't like the way you're dressed. Now they're training people to go, having those gut instincts that keep you alive are bigotry, racism, homophobia. It's like, you're telling me this is a party with all homosexual men? Yeah, no, my young son's not going. Yeah. Right? Oh my gosh, how dare you say that? Like, this is homophobic, this is heterophobic, this is all of these words really, in my view, meant to just delude people away, from trusting their gut instincts. Your gut is divine, okay? Your gut is telling you something's not right. Like, the person in the classroom says he's a non-binary person who believes that, age limits should be evaporated, and he's teaching your kindergarten teacher, and your son, and you're allowing that to happen because you're fearful that people at school are going to call you a bigot. I'm a bigot, okay? I'm a bigot, I am a bigot, so let me figure out what I have to know about you.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone, that was from the recent interview with Andrew Tate. I trimmed the clip a little bit at the front and the back, but there you go. Anyway, Candace calling out the most extreme elements of possible Pride events is nothing new. But I've been to Pride events before, and I've not seen anything like what she described. Fuck, I rode an electric scooter through a Pride parade here, slowly, to deliver some packages, and I felt completely safe and I saw nothing out of the ordinary. Fucking ridiculous. Also, and Candace was careful not to say it here, and I usually don't play it on this show, though I might have to crawl back through an older episode or two from the last couple of weeks, but she is very fond of the phrase fake and gay to describe almost literally anything she doesn't understand about modern social movements. That is some bigoted shit. Also, not defending her good friend Dave Rubin, a very out, conservative gay married man, when Andrew Tate was making gay jokes was detestable. Also, the DSM is not changed every year. The last time period between major revisions between DSM-4 and 5 was 19 years. As for mass shooters being trans or on hormones, it is not a vast majority of them. The actual number is 1.3%. Literally 4 of them in the last several decades. And the Christchurch shooter did have a manifesto that most experts on the subject will agree was probably troll trash, but Candace and Tucker and their views were called out in it. Their views on foreigners, changing the landscape of a country, and resetting its population were called out in the Christchurch shooter's manifesto.
Yeah.
So, Candace has said in the past that Islam is a political movement, not a religion, and she has also called it a disease. So the Australian government has every right to be concerned that she sold tickets to speaking events there. She can lie all she wants to. The truth is present for anyone that easily wants to find it. People have been calling her out on her bullshit before this show. We just seem to be the only ones dedicated to the subject and willing to play long-form clips of her and fact-finding her crap. Sometimes it makes me feel like Dr. Ellie Sattler in Jurassic Park, picking through this Triceratops poop to figure out why it's sick. Anyway, moving on. Candace keeps groveling, and it lasts another 6 minutes, where she tries to identify with an Israeli woman that was captured by Hamas. The woman was rescued, and the Israeli media apparently misquoted her story, and she sought to correct the record. Candace says she isn't equating herself to her while doing just that. But moving on, Candace wants to discuss RFK Jr. and Trump. But before we get into that, here's what's funny about the whole visa thing, and why the minister that handles that was like, she hasn't even applied yet. I hope she's got a good refund policy. Here's the deal. If, like, from what I pulled up briefly anyway, if I, as a normal person, wanted to go to Australia to, have a week or a weekend or whatever, be a fucking tourist, and I had the money, I could pay for, the office to fast track my paperwork within 48 hours, under the assumption that I am going to be staying there for a set amount of time and I'm fucking leaving.
Yeah.
Not to overstay the visa. Well, if you're going there for work, which, if she's going there to be paid at a public event,
she has to have a work visa.
Yeah. Which can take like 30 days.
Yeah.
Now, she sold tickets to an event next month. Do we see the problem here?
Yeah. Especially because if they've got...
Now, also, keep in mind, Candace is no stranger to going overseas to do speaking events and shit.
Yeah. She should have applied by now.
She or someone in her team. Tells me there's two possible things here. Her team is inept. We know they are. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they're that inept. They know if the boss wants to go somewhere, okay, we make this happen.
Yeah.
2, I think she knew, based on past shit, that Australia was going to deny her access the same way that they have denied other people access in similar ways. I'm not sure of the actual people that got denied, but I know people have been denied from speaking engagements there. Like, I don't want to say that Nick Fuentes was one or Stefan Molyneux, but I'm pretty sure they were.
Yeah.
But anyway, I can't say that for sure, but I've seen these types of ding-dongs talk about, I can't even go to Australia to, spread my poison. So, yeah, I know that the Australian government is not keen on having people come in and stir up shit.
Yeah, no. They've already got enough shit they're dealing with. They don't need other people coming in and stirring the pot.
They have enough homegrown shit. And the fact that she said on her show, that America should liberate, and it wasn't just one episode. This was a theme she kept doing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that she knew she wasn't going to be going there.
Yeah.
And this was a chance to go, they're trying to silence speech.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no. You didn't fucking apply
for your
work visa.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the guys on the dollop have gone to Australia a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And the first time that they went, they had to go through a lot of paperwork and shit because they were going on a tour.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to go back again, and they did. They've been back to Australia multiple times, but they had to get all that shit arranged.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were going there to make fucking money.
Yeah. Well, it's like if say I wanted to go to, I don't know if Australia still hosts it because a lot of cons were affected by the COVID restrictions and all that. But there was one called PAX, I think
PAX. It's Penny Arcade Expo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Penny Arcade Expo. Yeah, they, as far as I know, they still do them. They still write about doing them.
Yeah, because there were some There's a British group that I watch, Outside Xbox and Outside Extra. Sorry. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah.
They go there for their tours and whatnot.
Right.
And even though they're British, they still have to go through all that paperwork because they're going there for a very specific thing.
Yeah.
If I wanted to go there for that very specific thing, I'd still have to go through at least the person visa, the non-work visa as it be, to go there. Mm-hmm. And I'd know to set that up ahead of time when I'm getting my tickets to go there.
Yeah.
Because, you kind of want both of those already set up.
Yeah. Like, you want things to be as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
You're talking about international travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially, like, coming into it not knowing how any of it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, let's get into the next one here.
Mm-hmm.
RFK Jr. Now, do you know who RFK Jr. is?
Yeah.
Before we get into this. Okay.
No.
There was JFK.
Yeah.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Okay.
Former president. Shot in Dallas, right?
Yeah. Twice.
No.
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 Once.
Once.
Okay.
It took one lucky, good shot.
Okay.
From Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
That is the stance of this fucking podcast.
I thought it was 2.
No.
Oh, God.
No.
I'm tired.
Just one. Anyway. He had a son.
Yeah.
He had a son, John F. Kennedy Jr.
Okay.
JFK Jr., as he's known. JFK Jr. Had a plane crash back in the 90s. Gone. Fuck. Out. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, JFK, the senior, had a brother named Robert.
Okay.
Robert F. Kennedy. I don't think his middle name was Fitzgerald, but I don't really know. I don't care.
Yeah.
RFK was also running for office. He was shot by a dude named Sirhan, like in a crowd. Like he was taken out in a crowd. Now, he had a son, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So that's who this guy is.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I don't remember if I'm playing his recent speaking thing, but he had some sort of legitimate like health crisis earlier in his life, and when he talks, it wasn't gunshot related.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when he talks, like he has a very raspy voice.
Okay.
Yeah. It really doesn't translate well to recording. But anyway, yeah, that's just to like get ahead of that. It was a legitimate medical thing, and as far as I know, he was actually a doctor at some point. But yeah, I did as little research into this guy as possible because I know he's a kook and I don't like him. And anyway, we're gonna get into it. So let's play the clip.
All right, guys, honorable mention here. It looks like RFK Jr. is dropping out of the race. Yes, he has announced he is dropping out of the race. He has also endorsed...
He was running for president. For those of you who don't know, he was running as an independent. What?
I think I know why he dropped out of the race. Mm-hmm. He might have taken a look at his...
family history?
Yeah.
You would think, but that wasn't it.
No.
Trump. I will show you a clip of that announcement. Take a listen.
Here it is. Yeah.
Three great causes drove me to enter this race in the first place, primarily. And these are the principal causes that persuaded me to leave the Democratic Party and run as an independent. And now to throw my support to President Trump. The causes were free speech, a war in Ukraine, and the war on our children.
So it's great. Obviously, people have been waiting for this. There were some rumblings saying that he was going to do this, and I'm glad that he did. I think that it will add to a little boost for the Trump campaign. Look, tons of stuff that I liked about RFK Jr. I have been very vocal about the fact that I am anti-vax. I know it's supposed to be like a dirty term or something. I do not vaccinate my children, and I feel remarkably educated in my decision to do that because of RFK Jr. and the work that he did through his charity organization, Children's Health Defense. I mean, he will forever be a person that I am grateful for because of that. Some of his policies I was not so keen on. I think some of them, specifically I can give you one, like I thought he was quite radical on abortion, like really taking the bait, I guess, so to speak, and I think that was something that I couldn't agree with. But the reality is that a lot of conservative moms, suburban moms, really loved RFK Jr. and some of them are still iffy on Trump and or have felt iffy in the past about Trump. And so I think that RFK Jr. getting behind him and saying, hey, this is the way to go if we're going to unite. I'm an independent, but I'm telling you that the better of the two options here is Donald Trump. That's going to be meaningful. And Trump had been teasing that, by the way, all week, or not all week, for the last couple of days, saying that they were going to have a surprise guest at his Arizona rally, and it looks like that's likely going to be RFK Jr. So we'll continue to monitor that, but I'm just grateful that he's done that, because we're almost here, guys. It's just really just a few more weeks before it is going to be election day, and we need to now just try to have a party that is consolidated, a party that is focused on winning, and this is going to be a major add to that.
So yeah, what Candace is failing to mention is that RFK Jr. was throwing his support to whichever candidate would promise him a job in the upcoming election. He publicly said that shit. Yeah. This man is beyond gone if he really believes the bullshit he has been selling for years about vaccines, and the only person that was ever going to let him near the levers of power was going to be Trump. Excuse me. His voice is hard to listen to due to a condition he has, and I think that was always going to hurt his chances. But if he had been picked up by the Harris campaign, I'm certain there would have been no end of ridicule from the Republicans about his voice. I think he's a kook either way, and he belongs where he is. Candace goes on to play a video of herself singing as a child on the show. Now, as someone that only listens to her show, I had no idea that it starts with a video of her singing in the opening music, but the song itself is a sample of Ye's song, Stars.
Fun.
Yeah. She just goes and plays the undoctored video for everyone in this episode. It's just her singing in a badly recorded performance as a child, and I'm not going to play that clip. She was a kid before all of this nonsense she spews. I'm letting that go. Kid Candace did nothing wrong to the world. Adult Candace is our focus here. The rest of this episode is based on viewer comments. Such as...
Like I said, she had really great skin. All In writes, originally, magical wands were made from branches of the holly tree, hence the term Hollywood and its Aleister Crowley magic-based founding. Wow, what a tidbit. Guys, I'm telling you, if you haven't read it yet, go read Hollywood Babylon by Kenneth Anger. It's very, very deranged and demonic that people don't know what are the origins, what the origins are of Hollywood. And it is all very, very, very occult.
No. Hollywood is not the exclusive wood for magic wands. Fuck off. There is no exclusive wood for magic wands in any culture. Next.
Shit, as a fan of
Harry
J.K.
Potter?
Rowling's,
Yeah.
she should know that fucking wands come in various different types of woods.
Yeah.
Usually with only 3 basic heartstrings.
Yeah.
And this is far more than I wish I knew about Harry Potter.
Well,
but they also have different handles.
Yeah, I mean, but you played the shit out of that silly game, right?
Yeah, but that was mostly because I realized that I could do dark magic. I got really good at the fight mode, at the little brawling mode of it. Because in the brawling mode, they give you unfettered access to the curses, and I was so ready to Avada Kedavra everyone.
So, here's the next one.
AB writes again, Kenneth, I want to welcome you to the Catholic Church. I know it's been a while since, but wanted to welcome you. Thank you. I am so happy and excited every day to be a part of the Catholic family. The way that the Catholics defend me, like, this is a true story, but they have these, like, AI, like, spam things, and I'm speaking at a Catholic event this weekend in Niagara Falls, New York, and they literally got 3,500 like spam emails telling them that they better cancel the event because Candace Owens doesn't, is a Holocaust denier, like all sorts of crazy stuff. And they just like peer pressured them so much. And I had a little bit of a chuckle because I was like, guys, Catholics built different. Like, they're not going to believe stuff like that. And I'm very much looking forward to doing that event. But I'm just blessed to be a Catholic at this moment in time, because I do think that the Catholic and the Orthodox communities really, really fight the hardest when it comes to Christians and some of the persecutions that we face. I don't say that with any disrespect to the Protestants. I have seen that already, and it feels good. I feel like I am, in fact, home. Lucy.
So yeah, about the conference, I downloaded her speech. It's on YouTube. I haven't watched it yet. They had an official YouTube channel for the conference. She gave the keynote speech to kick it off. But next up, Candace is lying about being lied about.
Ian writes, huge respect for what you do here. God bless you and your family. Men needed now, with Patrick Carlin writes, what can we do more to prosecute all these liars in public? I'm tired of them getting away with it over and over. Know any good lawyers? Well, I think that we absolutely, one thing that needs to happen is New York Times versus Sullivan. Send it back to the Supreme Court, because I cannot believe that you are literally allowed to lie about public figures. This is a struggle that I face. They can literally lie. They can't do this in the UK, so I don't face the same smears and the same attacks. And if they do it and you instantly send them a letter, they change the article quickly because they have defamation laws that are strong. But in America, it's just a free-for-all. You can lie, you can say whatever you want about someone, and of course, they know that people just believe everything that's in print. It's awful. We absolutely must reverse the New York Times versus Sullivan decision.
Yeah, someone who's reading a Hollywood gossip book, supposedly.
Yeah.
And who only seems to know one fact about Edward Bernays or that fucking CIA book, is going to come down on people who just believe whatever they read.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems a little telling. But Candace would lose her ass over and over again if NYT versus Sullivan was reversed. That case that made it to the Supreme Court made it very hard for politicians and public figures to sue for defamation unless it meets specific criteria for malice. That case is a major protection to the First Amendment and probably the only thing keeping her and people like her out of court. It also protects us and other podcasters out here who call out bullshit. It's a good case for everyone, and she knows it. And we'll end with live chat viewers going at her about Nick Fuentes. And I have to assume these are groypers.
Into the live chats, you have, what do we have going on? Basketball friends, very disappointed you don't respect Nick. Yeah, I saw this, people tagging me saying that you don't respect Nick. I don't even know what the genesis of this is. Like, what are we talking about? You don't respect Nick Fuentes. Where is this even coming from? People saying, will you have Nick Fuentes on YouTube? Every single person in the world knows that my show is on YouTube. Nick Fuentes is banned from YouTube. Like, he's not allowed to be on YouTube. You will get a strike if you are on YouTube. So you're asking me to have a conversation with Nick Fuentes, put it up on a different platform that I'm not on, just because you want me to have a conversation with him, and then saying out of respect, nothing. Okay, two sides to this that drive me crazy. I get very annoyed when I'm on like Piers Morgan and then they ask me like, do you disavow Nick Fuentes, right? Because I didn't make a vow to Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is not my husband. It's this leftist tactic of like trying to get people to disavow an entire human being rather than to simply say what I don't agree with. That's why I don't engage in it. I've never done it. I think it's stupid. If you have a statement that Nick Fuentes has said and you want to ask me if I agree with it, I will say yes or no, but you're not going to get me to play your little leftist game, which is really just cancel culture, and you guys do it all the time. But on the other side of that, this like weird kind of like, have you paid your respects? It's the same thing. Like, I have always been an honest person. I communicate exactly what it is that I think, exactly what it is that I am going through. I have no vows to any person but my husband, plain and simple. And so I have said several times, there's not a single person that I would not have a conversation with. Actually, there's one. I'm thinking about one person. I'm not going to say the person's name because I just think the person is just always trolling. But I would not have a conversation with any other person in the world. And by saying, like, you have to have a conversation, like, the vibes of that are weird. And I told you guys yesterday, like, I don't understand, and I haven't looked into, like, these attacks on Dave Smith. I absolutely love Dave Smith, and I want to work with Dave Smith more on kind of learning history, and he seems to be a great resource of history, and he's been very courageous in standing up to the Zionist lobby, or I say the radical Zionists, that attack him all the time and tell him that he's not Jewish. So it just feels like one of these things where I'm not sure what all this is about. So I'm happy to read your comments and read your assessments of what that is, but I see that popping up, and I'm just not sure where it's coming from, to be honest with you. This person writes,
Woohoo! She just did an epic dodgeball move of avoiding yet again the Nick Fuentes lobby. The fact is, Candace is hosted on other platforms that Nick Fuentes is allowed on, including her most hallowed locals.com, or his own platform that he has, cozy.tv, or Rumble, which also hosts Candace, or Band.video, which is owned by her good friend who is never ever wrong, Alex Jones, and so on. I can understand her logic in not hosting him on YouTube, except that Alex Jones, who is also banned on YouTube, is allowed on shows like hers from 2 or 3 weeks ago. Fuentes' ban on YouTube does not stop him from being a guest on shows, which he has done without incident to those shows, such as No Jumper, System Update, which provided a clip while the full video was posted to Rumble, and Destiny. So there is no reason whatsoever, and I bet the Groypers know this too, there is no reason whatsoever why she couldn't have Nick Fuentes on her show. She played a fucking clip of his.
Yeah. A few times, too.
Yeah, at least, yeah. At least twice that we know about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I bet when we go back through her old catalog from the Daily Wire, I bet there's some Nick Fuentes clips in there, too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Nick Fuentes has been banned from YouTube for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, for her to be like, oh, yeah, you can't have him on there or your video will get banned. Now, here's something funny that we're going to talk about more next week, I'm sure, but her recent interview with Tristan Tate was struck down. She manually, she did the manual, appeal. Mm-hmm. They brought it back up, and then it was struck down again for realsies.
Jesus.
So I haven't looked. I just saw the post on Twitter earlier today. I haven't looked, but I'm going to laugh if it's still down. Like if it's not on her YouTube channel whatsoever. Because I only engage with the podcast. I get, when things get struck down, they're still on the podcast.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, I would find it hilarious if that Tristan Tate interview is just gone. Mm-hmm. Because fuck that dude. He's dumb as shit.
Oh, yeah.
Any rate, so as we say every week, fuck. Thank you again to our patrons, Gary McCammon and Carlos Murphy, for supporting us this month. If you want to be named in almost any kind of way and support the show and get full access to the back catalog and access to shows immediately after they are recorded, head on over to patreon.com/GishGallopGirl, where you can support this show for as little as $1 a month. And now, we're going to get to the thing that keeps us a little bit sane throughout these videos. I'm sorry, videos. We're not doing videos. No one needs to see us. These audio recordings, these podcasts, we're both tired. But we're going to drink some stupid sugar water anyway.
Also,
what do we have today?
It's Jones Special Release Orange Chocolate Soda from Real Labels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we have had previously something that we can't actually do on the show because we've both drank about 3 bottles of it so far. Not tonight, but just, over the course of time. Jones has a soda that is Fallout themed. Nuka-Cola Victory. It's so good.
Oh, which I don't... I scanned the QR code in the cap.
There's QR codes in the bottle caps. They tell you to save the bottle caps. What were they? What was it?
Well, at least one of them that I scanned was basically just a direct link to the TV show.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I haven't scanned the other ones yet to see if they do the same thing, but I'm gonna need to take a piss after this.
That close.
This is.
There we go. Oh, that's probably good.
Alright.
It smells orangey. Yeah, top me off. I'm gonna need the sugar for the uploading.
Yep.
Oh, actually, I'm getting the chocolate smell in there. My God, it smells like a Terry's chocolate orange.
It does.
All right. Now let's give this a quaff. Man. It does smell really, really fucking close, but I'm going to say the taste is somewhat lacking.
Yeah, taste is lacking. Like
the aroma is dead on.
I'm getting some orange in there, but
well, that's all that I'm getting is mostly the orange. Like the chocolate, kind of like the orange hits hard, and then that chocolate flavor kind of like nulls it out.
Yeah. Like it's orange and I mean
gone. It's orange and gone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like orange and then sugar water.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a shame, but the smell is on point.
God, the smell is perfect.
Okay. If you drink it, like if you continue to chug it,
you get it.
Then it's there.
It's like it takes exposure to really like show up.
Yeah. But man, the smell sticks in your nose.
God, that smells really good.
Oh yeah.
They nailed the aroma.
Oh, hang on. There's something in the cap. You
really?
deserve happiness.
Under the lid. Well, I think that closes us out for this week. You got anything?
Not really, no.
Okay, cool. Well, you can follow us. Well, you can follow me on Mastodon at Gish Gallop Girl. Again, y'all can follow me on Twitter if you want to. It is at Gish Gallop Girl on Twitter as well, but I do not post. Occasionally, I'll like something and then I'll take the like away. just because I like to think that somebody's like, oh, 217 people. Wait, why is it down to 216? What'd I do? You know? I think the only time I posted anything on Twitter was when I reached out to Knowledge Fight about the Alex Jones interview, and also when someone that Candace had reposted said that they called two abortion clinics in Phoenix or something.
Yeah.
And like they claimed to be like almost ready to pop pregnant, and they wanted to get abortions done, and the clinics were like, sure. That one was so egregious. Excuse me, I burped. That one was so egregious that I actually typed out a response, which was, name the clinics.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's it. I'm going to merge this with the theme song and put it up to Patreon. And everyone else that is hearing this portion, I hope your Friday was good, which would be next Friday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. I guess that's it. Have a great day or week or weekend. Yeah, you'd be having a weekend next week.
Yeah. By this part, you'd be having a weekend.
Yep.
Yeah. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.